Everything's going great. Thanks for asking. Really enjoying myself. Things are fun. Hi. Good morning, Glenn Clark Radio. Would you rather Wednesday edition of the program? We'll get into that in a bit. Coming up today, we will continue to discuss the Kevin Brown situation. Obviously, a brutality actually called this morning and said, boy, that was rough last night. God.
Brutality has your number?
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't expect that. I looked out at my phone. I'm like, all right, let me just check. And they're like, hi, it's brutality. And I said, wow. That's weird. I didn't expect that you could talk or that you would have a phone. And brutality was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I watched that game last night and eek. It's what it is, man. It's what it is. Hey, in my mind, I'm doing everything in my power to not allow any thoughts of, like, seasons that went to hell to creep in, like, get out, you! Yeah. Get out!
And at least everything else surrounding the team's so pleasant. So
but that's the point, right? The point is you're trying to ignore and keep let's keep everything compartmentalized. Let's not overreact to anything, but yeesh. That was some, like, Final Destination type of stuff last night. That was insane. On the program today, Drew Forrester will stop by for better or for worse later on. God, what a day to do that. Also later on, in a few minutes, Dan Connolly will join us now with Sportsnaut, and he wrote a piece about this situation and the unforced errors of the Orioles organization. We will also talk some Ravens, the other team in town. Pat Kirwan from Sirius NFL Radio, former NFL scout and coach. He'll join us a little bit later on this morning as they were in town for their annual training camp visit yesterday. He and Jim Miller, who I think is going to join us tomorrow here on the show. So always appreciate those guys taking time for us, and we will talk to them about what they saw and, the whole deal. All right, well, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. But I guess what I'll say is today's show is brought to you by Superbook. If you feel like tonight is the night, and if the Orioles are going to lose one like that, that means that tonight they're going to turn around, they're going to be determined, and you want to bet that, here's what you do. You go sign up with Superbook, and you use the code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. You use that code. And the reason why you use that code is because they will match your first bet up to $250. You say, wow, that's a little bit rich for my blood. I understand, but it's like a guarantee. If you lose, if you make a $250 bet on anything, and you lose, you get $250 worth of free bets. But wait, there's more. If you make that $250 bet and you win, then you get your winnings and you get $250 worth of free bets.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Sign up. Use the code GlennClark23. GLENNCLARK. GlennClark23 in order to take advantage of these offers. Well, I delayed it as long as I could. Did the Superbook read. Guys, have anything else you want to talk about? The frustrating part is that, like, I was preparing last night for, like, how this show was going to go today. And the part where we're going to be able to say it is reminder or example number 1 billion of how this team has, unlike almost anything I've ever seen before, been impervious to anything that you might find yourself being concerned about. Remember, I kept talking throughout June about how they were playing pretty much 500 baseball, at times dipping under 500 baseball for large stretches. They were impervious. Losing Cedric Mullins twice, who the first time at least was absolutely their best player, and the second time was still in the conversation, impervious. Innings limits. Pitchers needing to be regrouped. Struggles of the bullpen, impervious. Slow starts for Gunnar Henderson, impervious. This team has not been impacted a bad loss here and there. Nothing. And so last night, as you were watching, certainly the beginning of the game, but even through the 8th inning unfold, you just found yourself saying it again. Man, every time Grayson Rodriguez gets into some trouble, you start to worry that they might blow a big lead. Nope, settles down, gets out of it with minimal damage. Orioles continue to cruise. Finds some trouble again in the 6th inning, gets himself out of it. I get it, facing Martin Maldonado, who's not very good, but, you know, every time franchise feels an amount of upheaval, fans are on edge, they're making noise at the ballpark, chanting about Kevin Brown, and the baseball team just says, we're just going to go play baseball. Everything feels like, I mean, hell, Jorge Mateo made a play in center field. There is no reason for Jorge Mateo to be playing in center field. None. I love our guy Paul Valley, who hosts the Bat Around, and he's like free. He's been talking about this for months. Like, the problem with Jorge Mateo has ever been the position that he was playing. Like, well, we could just fix the Jorge Mateo problem if he played a different position. Because as we know, that was the issue.
Maybe if it was pitcher.
I guess. There's no reason. None. I get it, your options aren't great right now. But Jorge Mateo's not a good option. Like, pretending like Jorge Mateo is a definitively better option than Ryan McKenna or Colton Cowser is silly. But there he is, making a big play in center field. I know that on the broadcast they said it was going to be a home run. I kept watching it. I don't think in any world it was going to be a home run.
It was close. I mean,
it was definitely going to be extra bases. There's no doubt about that. Like, it was definitely going to be, off the wall. I don't think it would have gotten out. But, yeah, I get it. It was close, and I'm not trying to take anything away. It was a hell of a play. Whatever it would have been, it was a hell of a play. Man, if Jorge Mateo's out here making plays in center field, a position he has no business playing, this is the proof. This is everything about what you have felt about this team. It's all right in front of you in this situation. And then the bottom falls out. And then the unthinkable occurs. It's in so many ways so much worse that it was Felix Bautista. Like, if you lose because the middle of your bullpen, you're like, well, that's about right. Like, yeah, But Felix Bautista is supposed to be unstoppable. He's supposed to be hey, you turn around, you run one out on Felix Bautista for a solo home run. All right, fine. But he's not the one supposed to be giving up an inning. And again, we can talk about how I have no idea. It is fair to question. One, I don't know who was making the decisions at the end of the game. I don't know if the Orioles were doing the thing where Brandon Hyde was standing down after he got ejected from the game, he was shouting down.
Put McKenna in.
Put McKenna in for Santander. I don't know. I don't know if Freddie Gonzalez was making the decisions himself. I don't know. And they could never answer that question because if it was Brandon Hyde, they can't say that because you're not supposed to do that. That would be against the rules. So we'll never know whether Freddie Gonzalez made the choice to put McKenna in for Santander instead of Mateo, whether Brandon Hyde made that decision, whether they even felt it was a choice. Maybe once Jorge Mateo made that play, they said, well, now we've got so much confidence in him that we'll stick him out there. And I also don't know definitively if McKenna would have made the play in center field. I don't know that definitively. In in hindsight, after watching it a couple times, it seemed more routine than we were making it out to be. It felt like we were making it out to be a particularly difficult play to make, and I don't think that's accurate. The more I've watched it, the more I'm convinced that's a pretty routine. Like, I don't think there was any need to jump. And I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth. It felt like after the first one, almost, Jorge Mateo was kind of doing a bit where he was saying, look, I can make all sorts of exceptional plays in center field. And I don't think that was needed there. It seemed like there was lots of time to just get over and catch the ball. Now, the point might be that Jorge Mateo has better speed, and I don't know, maybe another center fielder wouldn't. Argument that's been made by a lot on Twitter is if it's not McKenna, why wouldn't it have been Colton Cowser? If you're making defensive replacements, one, you and I have talked before, I don't understand the obsession with defensively replacing Anthony Santander in right field. I don't get it. I understand the argument that McKenna probably has some more range, but at no point has Santander and
I mean, the obviously his baseball savant page doesn't exactly back it up.
That's true. That is fair.
He hasn't really he can make diving plays. He has a strong arm. He makes. I mean, as far as I can remember, he's made almost every single routine ball. He's not like Kyle Tucker dropping,
Yes, we've never seen. I've never felt the need, but I get it. We can't ignore what the numbers say. So pull up both the outs above average for Santander and for McKenna. And again, it's difficult to compare those things because McKenna hasn't had a full season of playing every game. I don't know how those things would be compared. But maybe the thought would be, well, once we put McKenna in, we don't want to put Cowser in because then we have limited options off the bench. Well, if you're already taking out Santander, you're kind of saying we're selling out to end the game now.
It doesn't look like McKenna qualifies yet.
He doesn't qualify for outs above average?
He has.
It's kind of weird.
What is run? Oh, here we go. All right, stats for outs above average. Well, because since he doesn't qualify them percentile, so I can't. I gotta find out. Hold on, I gotta find out what's on.
All right. This maybe we'll end up regretting this. Perhaps going too far. The other point that'll be made about Jorge Mateo last night is that for what it's worth, he is now hitting 300 against lefties this season. So you're trying to find some sort of way to have him in the lineup against lefties, and again, the numbers alone suggest that's something that you should be doing. But leaving him in or buying into one catch that he made as being definitive proof that he can play center field, and if you're making defensive replacements, befuddling.
Based on success rates, Santander in right field has an 88% success rate in 160 attempts. McKenna 89% between center and right in 70
Doesn't
attempts.
really seem like there's much of a are you gaining much of anything in that situation? With the flip side being that you're losing Anthony Santander should something go wrong. It appears to be of no value. Whereas putting in someone for Jorge Mateo, who has not played much center field this season, would seem to be something of value. And again, I can't tell you that it would change anything about that. I can't tell you definitively that McKenna or Cowser absolutely catches that ball, or if they do catch that ball, that it means that Tucker doesn't hit a home run on the next play to tie the game anyway. Mm-hmm. But it's fair to question. And the bigger issue is, if nothing else was going on, we'd say, wow, that was a really rough one. That was surprising. That was a bummer. But instead, it feels more like the sky is falling. The general feel in town is, oh, God. Which doesn't mean that it's going to continue. It might very well be that Jack Flaherty puts together a great start tonight. The Orioles even up the series, and they can pretend like that never happened. And Felix Bautista is just fine and never blows another save, and all's good.
He's made 4 mistakes, really. 4 bad mistakes all year, and they each, of course, he's a closer, so each one sticks out.
Yes, of course. You remember, you absolutely remember what happened in New York, for example. You 100% remember him leaving something to Aaron Judge. And last night it felt like he was battling not. And look, by the way, this
James
is the
McCann. I mean, there was the foul tip that James McCann.
That's
maybe
fair
shoulda
too,
had,
right? Like that's fair, 100%. That's one that's frustrating. I think that there have been questions about James McCann's pitch calling in the 9th inning. Is that a situation? I mean, James McCann is a veteran and respected. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't second guess like, should you be putting Adley Rutschman in the 9th inning?
Right.
Like, I can't do that. I can't go there. That's not Jorge Mateo in center field. That's James McCann behind the plate. Wildly respected. I can't do that. There's a whole lot of stuff there. Also, the meat of it is it's Kyle Tucker.
Right. Exactly.
It's the Houston Astros. They're really good. There's a reason why, while I told you the other day I was starting to believe in the possibility of the Orioles being a World Series contender, the flip side of it was, but I don't think that I like them more than I like the Astros or the Rangers. Truth be told, to me, the Astros should 100% be the favorites. Clearly, with Shane McClanahan now, it's almost overwhelming. To me, the Astros should absolutely be the favorites to win the American League because they're the Houston Astros. You heard of them? They're the favorites. Did a little thing a year ago. They won the World Series. The Astros. And it's extraordinarily frustrating, and it's hard to separate all of the different emotions that we're feeling. And for the rest of the country, undoubtedly, here's a spoiler, I'm going to be on Buster Olney's podcast today.
What?
Which is weird. Weird world we're living in. But I recorded it this morning. I had a good conversation with Buster, and however you guys feel about Buster Olney, feel about him. I'm not going to be bothered by anybody who's mad at me because I went on Buster Olney's podcast.
Glenn and his best friend, Buster Olney.
Yeah, that was mad at me because Buster Olney was on this show. And I said, I have no doubt that the rest of the country felt an amount of comeuppance last night. And that a team that was otherwise primed to be America's sweethearts, primed to be an easily embraceable team for the entire country to get behind and root for if their team was out. If you were a White Sox fan that was looking for a reason to care about baseball, the Orioles were going to be the easy thing for you to say, like, yeah, I'll root for them. They're not normally involved. They seem likable. And in the last 48 hours, you've probably found yourself saying, like hell, I'll root against them. And so with last night's game being on national TV and everything that's unfolded and this becoming a major national news story that is getting coverage literally on CNN, I have no doubt that in much of the country, last night was a moment of comeuppance. And that's what makes it suck all the more, is because none of these players deserve that. None of them. This fan base doesn't deserve that. No one deserves that except for the people that were involved in making this insane decision. Which, again, there's still time to try to fix. So keep trying to say, fix it, fix it, fix it. There is still time and opportunity. But, as quickly as possible. Try to put all of this behind us and end all of the nonsense. It's not fair to those guys that are in the clubhouse. And I don't think it has anything to do with why Felix Bautista blew a save last night. I don't think the two are in any way related. But you do worry at some point about how all of these things impact each other. That if this thing continues to linger and fans continue to go out to the games and it continues to be a bit of a sideshow moving forward, does at some point that end up and you lose a couple of games and does at some point it end up impacting you? Is there an amount of frustration for, God, I wish they would just fix this? Does it impact the incredible culture that we felt surrounding this team? Today, I don't think so. I don't believe it. But at some point, if the other side doesn't go away, if somehow it gets worse, if there's more stories told, if there's continued awkwardness, that at some point it permeates? Possible. Do I assume it? No. I assume that this same Orioles team that's been impacted by nothing won't be impacted by the fact that Felix Bautista blew a save last night. And they'll be okay. But we've also seen an awful lot of things. And you just never know. I know this guy's seen an awful lot of things during his time largely covering the Orioles. He's now shifted to a national role with the website Sportsnaut. It's always a pleasure to welcome back in our friend Dan Connolly, who wrote at length about the situation at hand. Dan, it's Glenn. It's always good to talk to you, and I feel like it would be nice to have more conversations that weren't about topics like this, my friend.
Yeah, it's the Orioles, right? I've said for years, sometimes they're not good, but they're always interesting. That's for sure. They always do something that lets us write about it.
That is true. Unfortunately, that is the case. Dan, I'm in a weird place with this, right? Because it's obvious, and we all know there's nothing justifiable here. There's no defense of anything that happened here. I'm in a weird place because I keep saying I watched this thing in a weird way. I was kind of in the middle of the Adam Jones thing a year ago, right, where Adam calls our radio show and says, I've had no connection with the Orioles, and the city freaks out, and everybody's screaming for 24 hours, and I'm getting phone calls, and then they fixed it. Like, they showed themselves capable of saying, whatever caused this problem, we can just fix it. Like, we can do that. And I think it's been a joy for Orioles fans to watch this season as Adam Jones has been brought back into the fold, and, that has been a great relationship. I feel like they're capable of fixing this, but I ask you this question, are they capable of fixing this?
I mean, I think so. I think it's more of an embarrassment than anything else. And as I kind of detailed in my piece for Sportsnaut, an embarrassment is not new to this organization. They do these things. And I would like to think that, like, fixing with Kevin Brown, I don't think would be that difficult. Honestly, yes, he's a rising star and he would have other places to go. But, he's a young guy, family man, just bought a house in Baltimore. I think that's fixable. Certainly money fixes everything. So if they really wanted to fix it, a longer-term contract, I think could certainly do it. I think the problem here is that this is kind of what they do. It's kind of the MO that they do something stupid or they do something ridiculous, and then they have to fix it. And that's what has to be fixed, in my opinion, and this has been going on for years, is that culture of it, that, oops, we screwed up, let's do something about it. I do have concerns that no one can really tell John Angelos what to do or really even be a check and balances guy with him. He has some people he listens to, but those are self-appointed people that he ultimately is in charge of. So that is a concern of mine, is that who's going to get it to be fixed.
I feel like what you're saying and is like the quiet part out loud, that like there's a chance this gets worse before it gets better. Like there's a chance that instead there's anger and frustration and you all don't understand and I know better, and somehow it's made worse because of that instead of being made better.
I mean, that's possible. I'm not inside the guy's head. I don't know exactly what he's thinking after this one, but it didn't get better after the time that he, came at me on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I mean, here we go again. And again, these are things. There have been firings in between this. There have been, mandates of other things. I mean, it's just basically he has a vision and he thinks that that's correct. And I don't know where he's getting these visions. But that's the way he looks at things, and no one keeps him in check on this. And then, something like this happens, or something like the Martin Luther King Day press conference happens, where we were told we could ask questions about baseball.
Right.
And, if you're the owner of a baseball team and you don't speak to the media and you're going to be in front of the media, the sports media, mind you, you're going to get questions. How that was lost in translation, I'll never have an idea.
Well, but how dare anybody suggest that the team should open his books? It's not like he said he was gonna open the books, which is
Keep in mind, I didn't ask him to open.
Of
the
course
book.
not, right? And
I asked him about his team's commitment. He was the one for absolutely no reason. He was the one that suggested he was going to open his book. I mean, that's what's even most bizarre about that. We all knew from the moment it left his mouth, him included, I'm sure, that was an impossibility. But that's the kind of thing. Like, he's not kept in check.
Dan Connolly, Sportsnaut, with us here on GCR. Dan, as you'll understand, given my history of where I worked at, I have a sensitivity where I have tried to not be overly critical over the years, and I have tried to find appropriate places to criticize versus acknowledging pleasant things. And I have talked a lot about some of the things that I think have been good. I've raved about, like, the kids coming to the games free program, for example.
Right.
How do we appropriately measure these missteps versus the baseball side of things? Like, how do we appropriately measure an organization that continuously has things that, like, there's just no need for, but on the flip side seems to, at least on surface level, have figured it out from a baseball standpoint? Like, how can both of these things continue to be, I don't know, happening at the same time?
The beauty of Baltimore Orioles baseball, huh? I mean, it's a good question, and kind of honestly, that's been part of my entire career, 23 seasons covering the Orioles, and that's what I found. There are some good things. The kids tier free thing is fantastic. You know, they've done some really good things overall, and I'm not going to push that under the rug. They've done some really good things. They've also done some really bad management things, some really big missteps. And even in my piece yesterday criticizing Angelos, I mean, John Angelos and Luis Angelos hired Mike Elias, who hired Brendan Hyde, and they gave him money, and they didn't, they haven't meddled in particular trades and things of that nature. They've gotten out of the way of that, and so there's hope there. I mean, they're doing that part right, but I think John is in his own head, and like I said, I don't think he's got a lot of people who answer to or who he answers to, and that's a problem.
Dan, how do you, like, the fear I feel in talking to Orioles fans is that these two things can't always be separated. And I was alluding to the idea, like, I don't think anything that happened in the last 48 hours was the reason why Felix Bautista gave up a game-winning grand slam in the ninth inning. I don't think there's any correlation between those two things. But I also know that, like, and I know you've covered teams like this because I've covered teams, and I haven't covered the way that you have, where things that were happening away from the field did end up impacting culture and impact, what was going on a day-to-day basis. And can these two things completely remain separated for a short time, for a long time, or inevitably will the struggles on one end up impacting the baseball team and what we see on the field?
I think that all depends on the financial outlook of it, to be honest. I think that's what it comes down to. The Orioles, especially this group of young Orioles, they don't care about any of this stuff. They care about playing and trying to win, and Brandon Hyde's got them focused on that. I would bet that half the team has no idea what's even going on with this, maybe even more than that. So yeah, that's kind of stuff is not going to penetrate this team, the bubble that this team plays under. But if there's a situation about financial and they don't have the money for things and they can't extend guys or they can't go out and get a piece that puts them into the World Series, that's where it bleeds over. But as far as these stupid management type decisions and stuff, as far as it, if it doesn't affect the actual team on the field, I don't think there's anything to worry about. The concern, of course, is what it does in decision making based on the actual team. And
right.
Like I said, what we've seen so far is that John Angelos has turned that over to Mike Elias, and Mike Elias has done a lot of that, or all of that, really. And so I think in that sense, there's nothing to worry about. Mike's going to make mistakes too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he's the one making the decisions, and I think everyone would feel better about that concept. However, when those decisions start bleeding over to the finances of it, then then it's anybody's guess.
No, I think that's fair. Maybe I'll make a comparison. I think somebody might ask, like, hey, we saw the last successful general manager just kind of won out and kind of get sick of it. And is there a part where you start to worry about that with the next successful general manager, which is a wild hypothetical, and it's unfair to me to ask, but it feels like you do have to wonder about things like that.
Well, I mean, it's baseball. It's an industry, and people get burned out. People kind of get sick of their bosses, whatever it might be. So, and economic factors play a part. I think that they're built right now to to continue this momentum that they've created. However, anything can happen. I mean,
Right.
they go out and they purchase the wrong guy,
Mm-hmm.
who is a cancer in a clubhouse, or they don't, start giving money to some of these guys who then leave via free agency. I mean, I think those things are much more, concerning than anything that has to do with, decisions that are kind of on the periphery of this club.
Let me ask it this way, Dan. This team right now, separated from everything else that's going on, is this team? I felt something crazy. I was talking to John Smoltz last week, and he said, I think they're good enough to win the World Series, and it literally stopped me in my tracks. I said, what? What? And then I started to think about it, and I said, I don't know, maybe? Can I squint and say that, if Grayson Rodriguez can somehow hold up and pitch at this level, and they could get – is that crazy? Is it possible that this team, as is, with the idea that maybe John Means could help out at some point, you're going to get Cedric Mullins back, is it possible that this team has enough to be able to compete with the Astros and Rangers in the AL and make it to win a World Series?
Yes, it's possible. I think this team believes that it is good enough to win and to win it all. And I think for my years of covering teams, and I've covered World Series and everything else, that goes a long way. That goes a much longer way than the actual roster, because anything can happen in baseball. We've seen the quirkiest things happen. We've seen, in the postseason, guys who don't hit, become superstars. And we've seen, guys who are great pitchers kind of fall apart in the postseason. Anything can happen. You got to get in there. And then once you get in there, it's anybody's game. Do I think roster-wise, as constructed, they have as much talent as the other teams, that they would be fighting against? I don't. I think that they're a little bit shy, especially in the pitching aspect, and I think that they're a little bit young, and there's going to be some more pressure they've ever faced offensively. That said, they're good,
Yeah.
and they believe, and the belief part. I mean, man, we can do all the stats we want, we can put all this stuff together. That is really immeasurable, and that 2014 team obviously ran into another buzzsaw who was very similar in the Kansas City Royals, who were a wild card team and believed. But, that team really thought that it was going to win and win it all. And they got there and they won the division. And I think this Orioles team is good. I mean, first of all, the talent's there to do it. I just think in comparison to some of these other teams, especially with the experience sake of it, I think it's going to be a difficult challenge this year. But I'm not putting anything past these guys either.
No, I think that's a very fair way of saying it. It's kind of what I came around to, Dan, was just it doesn't seem likely, but can I say it's impossible? I can't. They need a lot of things. Like Jack Flaherty's got to be the guy that he was in his first start, right? You got to be getting that version of Jack Flaherty, and a lot of other things have to go right in this process, but I don't know, man.
Well, and one of the things too is the health situation, and they really haven't had many big health issues. And Shane McClanahan may not pitch the rest of the season now. It looks like in Tampa Bay, and that is a huge blow to them and to the Orioles. I mean, obviously we can single out guys and say, hey, if this guy goes down for the season, it's going to be tough. But there's not a Shane McClanahan on this team, in my opinion. I mean, there are guys who are important, obviously, but this team is kind of that those superstars haven't risen. There isn't a guy you look at besides Bautista and say, boy, this guy has had an unbelievable season. I mean, you look at him and say, oh, yeah, they're all playing well. They're pitching well. They're doing okay. But you don't look at it and say, man, this guy, if Bautista goes down, I think there will be some concern. But outside of him, I think that they can weather most of these storms. And like you said, if Flaherty, is what he was that first start in Toronto, if Means comes back and can pitch well, I still believe in Tyler Wells. He comes and gives some quality innings somewhere, whether it's the pen or the rotation. I mean, they have enough to make noise. I just don't know if that noise is going to push him, to a World Series championship or not.
Dan, for those that don't know about what it is that you are doing now with Sportsnaut, can you lay it out for everybody that they know loves your work, but knows this is a little bit different than what we're used to?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I mean, this is actually how I started with the Sun back in 2005. I was a national baseball writer and concentrating on the Orioles, and I did that for several years and just went back into the Orioles beat. So it's kind of the similar thing. I am writing on national stories of national interest, features, basically that kind of stuff for Sportsnaut. Sportsnaut's been around a long time. It was more, mainly kind of an aggregate site. We're doing a lot of, fresh stuff now. Mark Medina's covering basketball for us. Used to cover LA for a long time. I'm doing some baseball for us and that kind of stuff. So it's a website that's been around for a while, but like I said, it's trying to really kind of change things a little bit. And I've been lucky enough to kind of hook on with that after my time with the Athletics.
Very cool. And, of course, you can always follow Dan on the website formerly known as Twitter at DanConnolly2016. Dan, appreciate it. Maybe we have fewer of these in the future and just more baseball conversations, but always
that would be great.
Yeah, right. Be nice.
I wouldn't count on it, but that would be great.
I know what you're saying. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate you doing it.
All right, you got it. Take care.
Dan Connolly with us here on GCR. Again, I am trying to find the line. I am trying to find somewhere between nuance. It's sort of who I've tried to become. And I said something there to Dan that you guys, I think you'll understand. When Drew comes in, he and I can talk about it. I don't want to be the guy that just always says the Orioles are embarrassing, the Orioles are a failure. I don't want to be that guy. I have no interest in that. I want to criticize them when it's warranted. Obviously, it's warranted right now. I've had a lot of people say you shouldn't say the Orioles are warranted of criticism. You should just say John Angelos. And to the point, when I say it's unfair to the players, it is also unfair to, the training staff. It's also unfair to the communications department, the tickets department, everyone who has nothing to do with this, who just has to go do their job every day. And it's not, and I do feel for them. I feel for them. They didn't do this. This isn't the alumni department's fault. This isn't the grounds crew's fault. Development. This has nothing to do with that. Scouting. Analytics. None of them. And that's why it's so frustrating that, so many around the country probably felt an amount of comeuppance last night. Still, it does, anything that happens from the top is something Orioles. Orioles is the way it works. It's very difficult. But I want to make it abundantly clear. No one else deserves blame for something like this. No one. There were stories that were coming out last night. Allegedly, fans were being kicked out of the game for chanting. I don't want to go there. A couple people have asked me about it. I don't want to go there because I don't know enough. Because it's easy if it did occur, it's easy for someone to say, I was kicked out for chanting, when it might also be that person was using vulgarities or, was carrying on and getting in other people's ways or whatever else it might be. If that was the case and all they were doing was just saying, fire Kevin Brown, I'm not really, free Kevin.
What are you saying?
Free Kevin Brown, then I would think that there would have to be a lot more than a couple of people. It seemed like there were a lot of people that were saying that last night. The audio came through on every broadcast. So I don't know how you would pick a couple of people out of that group. I don't know. And so for those of you that brought it up, I'm just telling you, I kind of don't want to go there. I'm sorry. I just don't know enough. It's not something I'd be comfortable talking about. And this is the version of me where, like, it sounds awful, but I need to know more details before I'd be ready to say anything else about that. Please just fix it. Hi, Glenn Clark here. You may know me from Glenn Clark Radio, 105.7 The Fan. Perhaps you've seen me on ESPN Plus.
Buster,
The Buster Only podcast. Hi, Glenn Clark, old GC. Father of 2, husband of 1. Please fix this. Please. I'm asking. I'm begging. Please fix this. We're all having a wonderful summer. I have been in my bag with my emotions about this. My column in the next print issue of Press Box is about my experience that I've told you guys about with my kids at the beach and how pure and how beautiful it was for me and how all of it happened because of the Orioles. And, like, I have been overwhelmed by emotion relating to this summer and relating to this season. Please fix this. Please allow us to just have that. And other things can be, there's room for debate about a lot of topics. There's room for, as we said around the trade deadline, I could understand. Did I want something more significant? Yeah, I did. But could I understand? Right, I could. And I want to be reasonable, and they can debate about things and have healthy debate and discussion, but there's just really no, again, unless there's something we don't know, there's no debate here. There's no defense of this. Please. Begging. Please fix it. Please. It'd be really nice to not have to do this every day. And then go to another show tonight and have to do this. And then, Lord knows, I'll probably be asked to be on another show. And I just would rather not. I'm that age. I've gotten past the piss and vinegar thing. I don't like it. I don't like being associated with it, frankly. I like the way that sports can lift a community. That's the part of this that I enjoy. And there's been a lot of lifting. And I want that to be the thing. Please fix it. Thanks, your old pal GC.
So okay,
your old what?
I don't know. Well, just I guess there were just rumors. None of them were reports. But like, if for some reason he's not on Friday night's broadcast, how much worse does this continue to get? Like,
it won't be great, but it's gonna be awkward still, kind of no matter what
yeah.
because like there's not gonna be anything. Without anything being said about it, while continuing to kind of do like this isn't. There is no man behind the curtain thing where you're continuing to, like, this isn't happening. It leaves an awful lot of awkwardness. All right, let's move on. Let's talk football. Let's do that. Hey, today's show is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, Pat Kirwan's going to join us. He went to Ravens camp yesterday. He'll tell us what he saw. He'll tell us what he thinks about the offense and the defense, and that'll be next. And it'll be a nice respite. And then there'll be more of this, because that's where we are. Yeah, you guys are living what I'm like. What you're getting from me is very real. I don't want this to be the topic of conversation. I don't like this anymore. There was a time where I ate this type of stuff up, and now I don't know if it's empathy. I don't know what it is. I don't like it, and it's not the anger. Don't like it. It's almost like sadness. I don't want this. But here we are. Pat Kirwan joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
It's game on every day at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Here, you are in on every play with 100-foot screens at Sports and Social, the best table games action, and FanDuel Sportsbook, all just steps away. The best bar bites and drinks to indulgent steaks and curated cocktails. Your game day only gets better when matched up with Live's distinguished dining options. Late game? No problem. Our luxury hotel awaits. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is the place to be on game day and every day. For more information, visit www.maryland.livecasinohotel.com. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource. Home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. It's the return of Grateful Dead Night on Friday the 18th. A special t-shirt package is available. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday the 19th with our Batesoverfest. Get some beer specials while you enjoy the game. And get here early on Sunday for a pregame Meet the Team autograph session. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Okay, back in here on GCR. Gonna try to mentally refocus, be sharp, and continue to do at least mediocre broadcasting for you because that's the type of man that I am. Whew. If you missed it on Monday, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together, talked some birds. You can find that. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball. And then on Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein will get together with former executives Marty Conway and Andy Dolich for their sort of semi-regular Business of Sports Symposium. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports on Thursday night for that show. So, I feel like there was something else that I wanted to get in today. Oh, reminder, Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios are up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter and Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Jump in, get your responses in. One of you will win a shirt of your choosing from Birdland Sports.
Couple new shirts up there.
A lot of new shirts up there this week. Various different topics for these new shirts. I don't know if we've ever come up with a term for what the players wore last week. Like the Power Ranger meets Teletubby meets
whatever,
the tracksuit bit. So Josh did a few of those theme shirts. I saw there were some fans that showed up cosplaying.
They
nailed it.
Everything.
Nailed it. Our buddy Eric Arditi posted some pictures of them last night. I mean, nailed it. It was perfection. Imagine it was a little bit warm to be.
It was a little cool
wearing said get up. It wasn't quite. Yes, it wasn't quite as hot as it's been, but still, I don't know that like velour tracksuit would have been the.
Well, I mean, they got what they wanted. Everybody saw.
Absolutely, people enjoyed it.
National televised game.
All true. But yeah, you can check out those shirts and a free Kevin Brown shirt and all sorts of new stuff at birdlandsports.com. Had to do this a little bit earlier on today because of his schedule with another training camp, but right now, Pat Kirwan here on GCR. Well, Sirius XM's NFL Radio made their annual training camp stop in Baltimore just yesterday. Of course, Jim Miller and our next guest, Pat Kirwan, there to check out the Ravens, see what they thought. Pat, it's Glenn. Good morning. Appreciate you taking the time for us as always.
Oh, my pleasure to be here, and I always love stopping in Baltimore. John Harbaugh and Steve Bisciotti are good to us, and I like seeing them, and I like watching your football team because you're always a contender, and you will be again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird offseason, as you know, and talked about plenty on your show. Pat, I guess let me start with the offense. Are we getting too ahead of ourselves with an offense that still has new coordinator, quarterback coming off an injury, wide receivers that we don't know to be in the prime of their career at this point? Are we thinking too much about that, considering not everything? This isn't exactly Patrick Mahomes and, the top wide receivers in the NFL that we're talking about.
Well, it's a great question. It kind of covers the whole thing. Let me just get going. Odell Beckham, to me, looked terrific. And he is back. He's got his legs under him. He made a couple of moves yesterday during practice that would give me the feeling that he will be the productive guy he once was. You always worry as they get older, but he made two moves. One was a burst to the ball, which I was waiting to see, and the other one was he caught a little out route, stuck his foot in the ground, made the defender miss, and took off. So I think he'll give you what you hope he was going to give you. Zay Flowers is the talk of my camp tour. People that have come through Baltimore before me were warning me at how good he is and how good he looks. So I think you're going to be fine there. I mean, your real question about installing a new offense, I never understand why coaches come in and change the language. Get the coach to learn the language the players have been playing in rather than asking the whole team. But they didn't do it. They did it the traditional way, new language. So I asked Lamar, I said, when you call a play, do you see the play in your mind's eye? Do you see the whole play as you're walking up to the line of scrimmage? He goes, not yet totally, but more today than a week ago. So it's coming along. Here's what I really think. I don't think they're going to change very much. Honestly, when it's all said and done, when you want to win games, Lamar still has to run. And if he's not a running force, and I mean a 1,000-yard kind of back, then people are going to see it differently, and they're going to be very relieved. So Lamar ran yesterday in a 2-minute drill, and there it is. No one stopped him. No one said, hey, we don't want you doing that. He took off, and he will do it again. And I think, when I go back and think about some of the great running quarterbacks, they all relied on their feet to take the team as far as they could. He will do the same thing. And your tight end is still going to be a major target for your football team. I do worry about the running backs, though, Glenn. I don't know if that group is ready for prime time.
Okay, let's touch on a couple things you brought up there. One, the funny thing to me is whenever anyone has said Lamar needs to run less, and I keep saying, like, why are you trying to neuter a strength of a football player? Like, that is crazy to me, which isn't the same as saying that Lamar can't throw, because we all know that's not true. He has made great throws throughout his career. But I don't know what the level is between they want to try to protect him more, they want to not have him purposely run as much versus, as you just said, he's going to run. And in situations, maybe the goal is, with all of these weapons on the field, defense is more spread out. That should leave more room for Lamar to run the ball, correct?
Yes, and they're going to have to assign someone to Lamar. If the day comes that the defense doesn't have to assign a defender or some concept to Lamar, then people aren't going to be afraid of the Ravens like they should be. So They know it. The kid knows it. And I go back to Cam Newton. Cam Newton, one time they were trying to make him a pocket passer, and it wasn't going well, and he started running again. And I got a chance to talk to him. I said, what's up with going back to the running stuff? He goes, Pat, we got to win games. And we weren't winning the other way, and we can't wait to win games. So I have to go when I got to go. So I think Lamar's mindset's the same way. And so is his career going to be longer? Well, I think the reason they want to do it is they just invested so much money in him. They'd like to see him last the length of the contract. But all I said to him yesterday was, you probably have done it already, but you need to redo it. Study the young Russell Wilson. Russell had no problem running, and he was smart. He used to slide. He used to step out of bounds, and Pete Carroll, they did not worry about him running. And I wish Lamar would take a little lesson from that and be smart in the open field, and then I think he'll last the length of his contract. They have no choice, by the way, and you know it, and I know it.
Pat Kirwan is with the Sirius XM NFL Radio. Was just in Baltimore yesterday. Pat, you bring up the running backs, and I think it's an obvious concern. And, obviously there's two different things going on here, right? There's what the Ravens are trying to do, and then there's the entire running back issue that exists throughout the NFL. And I don't know how to tell J.K. Dobbins what to do here, because I think we're all in agreement that, it doesn't really benefit him to be holding out. It's not likely to get him closer to a contract, but his retort might be, I don't know that anything gets me closer to a contract. And it feels like the dirty little secret is it might not matter what he does. The Ravens might just well say, now that we've paid Lamar Jackson this money, we can't budget real money at the running back position moving forward. So it's not maybe as, loud as, say, the Jonathan Taylor situation or, anything else going on at running back. But how do you handle this between the Ravens and J.K. Dobbins?
Well, I wouldn't give him a pay raise, and I come from the world of managing salary caps along with coaching, but he has no leverage. He has a medical history. He only played 202 plays last year. And so, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm sorry to say this, is clear him on his physical, take him off PUP, and then start finding him every day that he's not out there. That's the world that we live in. It sounds cruel, but it's the world we're in. He doesn't have any leverage, and he shouldn't be thinking he does. And he's probably got a young agent that thinks, this is a protest I can afford to do. He's getting a free ride because he's on PUP.
Mm-hmm.
Take him off PUP and see if he does it. That'd be the first thing I do. And then I start making sure everyone knows I like Melvin Gordon, honestly. And then if JK wants to stand there and take on the fine situation, then God bless him. But this is a team trying to get ready. You're going to play 3 division games in the first 5 weeks.
That's true.
Are you with us or not? And if you're not, maybe I'll go sign Lenny Fournette. You can stand right over there.
Is what we're learning, and I don't know if you asked this question or if, dismissive of it, because what you just said I know matters, but is what we're learning that the Ravens just are kind of acknowledging it's not that important to them for him to be out there. They couldn't say that out loud, but that they understand that it might be better to just make sure he's healthy, and as long as he's willing to come back 2 weeks before the season begins, they feel like that's enough of a ramp up for him to be ready for the season, and they would rather not risk him getting hurt before the season begins.
I think a lot of teams want to preserve their better running backs in the preseason and not waste them with hits that are unnecessary. And part of that you just mentioned is acceptable as a scenario. The problem is he is standing there protesting while other guys are taking more reps than they should be taking. They're taking his reps too. So we're putting Gus Edwards and Hill and Melvin Gordon and everybody else at risk. And now we have a language change in the offense. I just really don't want to see a player do that. So I would be bringing in – if he wants to stand there after I clear him from PUP, then you know what? The other way is to say, you know what, I'm frustrated with him. Let's leave him on PUP, and let's put him on active PUP when the season starts. I don't think they'll do that. They don't want to cut off their nose to spite their face.
Right.
But you really can't let the player try to, as we say, let the tail wag the dog. That's not going to happen here. But I've been getting ready to put another running back in the mix. They're cheap. You can find them all over the place, and put another guy in the mix and tell him to stand over there and incur his fine.
It's a tough thing to do. I mean, the guy has led the league in yards per carry when he's been healthy, right? Like, he is – I know he's not Jonathan Taylor, but, he's proven that he offers something that I don't know that you're – I get it. We all kind of believe running backs are replacement-level players, but we have seen that the Ravens have a much better offense when J.K. Dobbins has been on the field.
Yeah, you might even have a better one if you put Dalvin Cook out there. And I think Dalvin Cook is the same agent. So
very
I'd be
interesting.
calling the agent going,
yeah.
You know what, we're going to release your guy once we sign Dalvin.
Yeah.
Let's see if he brings Dalvin to the table.
Very...
I live in that world that you got to keep doing this stuff. It always sounds nasty, but it's the way it is.
Pat, I know Pat Kirwan with us here on GCR, and obviously you got the defensive side of the ball, of course, matters a lot to you and your history as a coach. How concerned should we be about the depth at both edge rush and cornerback? Like, I feel like we're all very high. Like, the Roquan Smith thing was a revelation. We all expected him to be good. He was even better than that. He was marvelous. And, you know, if anybody deserved $20 million as an off-ball linebacker, that guy that we saw last year deserved it. But I don't know if that can make up for you putting a lot of pressure on David Ojabo, who hasn't played much in the NFL. And if Marlon Humphrey were to get hurt, I mean, you are about as thin as it gets at cornerback. How concerned would you be about those two areas?
I am concerned. Honestly, you have unproven pass rushers, and I know that everyone thinks Oweh's ready to go. No, they're hoping he's ready to go. Played over 600 plays last year, but you're replacing 18 sacks right off the top for your listeners. You know, Justin Houston, JPP had a couple, and Calais always was a factor. So you've got all that to replace, and you're doing it with guys that really haven't delivered yet. And I talked to John Harbaugh about it, and he said, yeah, it's time for Oweh. We don't have any more time to wait. So is this a team I think I would have signed Yannick Ngakoue? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Put a one-proven guy on it. Now, here's the problem for your listeners. Neither guy has established themselves, so the offensive blocking schemes are not going to have to run slide protection to one star. They can fool around with protections. They can release 5 whenever they want until those guys deliver on a consistent basis. They're just going to tell the tackles, just block those two. We're not going to worry about them until they deliver. So I do think it really gives the offense an advantage in how they're going to run protections. And I know your coaches are thinking about that all the time.
They brought in Jadeveon Clowney for a visit yesterday. He's, 2 years removed from a 9-sack season. I know he's never been the guy that everybody thought he might be, but if we know that Ngakoue's off the board, would there be any value to bringing in a Jadeveon Clowney, a Kyle Van Noy, who I know they had in before? Can they still help at this point?
In theory, they can, but Clowney, look, when he was in Houston, I went to their camp every year. I did not see him practice once in all those years. He never practices. His college reputation was a guy that didn't practice. I've had friends who've coached him. He was out in Seattle. They would take it easy, goodbye. Cleveland never was going to bring him back. So you do have the Ozzie Newsome effect. And Ozzie's still around there, and Ozzie has the kind of personality and the history that he's been able to resurrect guys. I want to ask why you didn't just bring back Justin Houston, but you didn't. So here we are. The list is getting short of guys who can do it. I don't know that he would fit into the Raven mentality of how we practice, how we play. He has not done that wherever he's been, so I'd be careful of taking him.
All right. Before I let you go, Pat, I just want to make it as broad as possible. The difference to you, the Ravens are in what we know is like a murderer's row at this point in the AFC. It is as deep and top-heavy as we've probably ever seen a conference. If there is a path to them breaking through finally and making a deep playoff run with Lamar Jackson, what has to happen for them this season?
I think you know the answer. First thing is he's got to play all 17 games. And he's got to be eligible to play well in the postseason, which he hasn't done. He also has to really defeat the Steelers because he's only played them 3 times. So he's done well against Cincinnati. Although I'll say this, is your point about the corner population and what happens if we get one injury, that's a bad matchup right now for you. Your pass rush isn't there, and your corner population is thin, and they got Joe Burrow. So that's going to be problem number 1 because you want to, win your division, but I think that's going to be hard. Here, my final thought is, and this is what I wrote down as I left camp. If Lamar plays the whole year, you win 10 or 11 games, and you might be the division champ, most likely a wild card. If he misses any games, you're going to miss the playoffs.
Well, let's root for the first scenario. Let's root for the former in that situation.
Me too. I am a big fan of your organization, but I don't think you can win without him. And he's got to stay healthy. He's missed 11 games, I think, in 2 years. And you go look, you know the record when they don't have him.
It's bad. It's bad. Pat, I know
you. I wish you had a different backup situation, honestly.
You think they should have gone to signing a veteran this offseason?
Yes, absolutely. Someone that can, now what Tyler can do, and you know what he can't do.
Yep.
And he's a bit of a tease because, we get to keep the same offense.
Yeah.
Well, your offense is changing a little bit. Maybe there's someone out there, or there was someone out there that could have been a guy. My value on a backup quarterback is get someone that's worth $7 or $8 million a year, and that you believe at the minimum he'll go 2-2 in a 4-game stretch, and more likely 3-1.
Pat, I know you're headed to Tampa Bay today. Is there anything else we can plug for you, sir?
No. After Tampa Bay, we're heading to the Raiders, and then after the Raiders, we're going to Denver and Seattle, and we'll see if this time they see someone else. These camp tours are getting shorter because no one practices anymore.
Yeah, it's a different world, right? And they are practicing against each other in these weeks. Pat Kirwan, always appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with us. Safe travels the rest of the summer, and look forward to talking again during the season, all right?
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys. Be good.
Obviously, a lot of reasonable in there with Pat Kirwan. I brought up the Dalvin Cook thing the other day on the radio show. I don't see it. I know our guy Randy Mueller brought it up. If you're not going to pay one running back, why are you going to pay another running back? And I'm not trying. I understand Dalvin Cook's better than J.K. Dobbins. I do get that, and so that would be the argument for it. But if the problem is that you've just decided that you can't budget money at running back because of what you're now going to be paying your quarterback, then I don't know that I see it. I don't know what Dalvin Cook's looking for either. Like I would assume Dalvin Cook's looking for a real contract, and that's why he's not a Jet as of yet. If Dalvin Cook's just looking for anything, then I don't know, maybe we can have that conversation at some point. But I just don't see that. And it's a far more complicated issue. I think the real question is, what do we not know? Do we not know that the Ravens have had conversation with J.K. Dobbins where everybody's on board? The Ravens don't actually, as I pointed out with Pat, don't really want J.K. Dobbins out there until a couple weeks before the season started anyway, because why have him taking unnecessary hits? Like, let's get through the training camp portion of this, and then once we start really preparing for the season, are you going to be willing to be out there? And J.K. Dobbins said, yeah, I mean, I got to do this. I got to hold out to show that I'm fighting, but I'm going to come up and play. And if everybody on both sides knows that when John Harbaugh says, I have these conversations with J.K. Dobbins, that's what they're talking about, then I'm probably not all that concerned about it. If that's not certain, if J.K. Dobbins is still leaving it wide open, like, I don't know when I'm going to show up, then maybe at some point the Ravens do have to think about that. I don't know. Jadeveon Clowney doesn't do much for me.
I mean,
it is weird. I completely missed that he had 9 sacks 2 years ago. Like, that came out of nowhere. He had been scuffling and, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere 2 years ago.
Well, he's on the other side of Myles Garrett. I guess that helps.
It definitely helps. There's no question. Oh, was that the year that Garrett got suspended?
Maybe it was. Yeah, maybe you're on to something. Myles.
And it might be that he had all of his sacks when Garrett was playing, and then I don't know. I don't know nearly enough to be able to dive into those numbers. And
no, Garrett had 16 sacks in 2021. So
you're guessing that means that he wasn't suspended and not that he could have had 25, but was suspended. Yeah, I assume that's what that means as well. I don't know, but yeah, out of nowhere, Jadeveon Clowney looked productive again. I don't have any expectations. If you were to bring in Jadeveon Clowney, I would expect nothing of him. That's not for me to say don't do it. If you just feel like you need more veterans, fine. But, I'm not enamored in any way with Jadeveon Clowney. Does zero for me.
I mean, I feel like they need something, though. Like,
But is it I mean this with the nicest way possible. Is Jadeveon Clowney something?
I think to Pat Kirwan's point, he's a person that, I mean, he was kind of
he's a person
down.
Is what we've said. Here's what we got so far. Jadeveon Clowney is a person.
And I think that might be what the Ravens need.
End of list.
They have Ojabo and Owe, and
I understand
that doesn't scare anyone.
I understand that that's the premise of the question. It's the reason why we're talking about this is because of what we don't think they have enough, but I get it. This is what's left now. And that's exactly what Pat Kirwan said. Like, the decent options are gone.
Right.
You're left with what you're left with. You can't make somebody up. You can hope somebody else gets cut between now and the start of the season, but there would certainly be a reason why that player would get cut. And you could hope that you could get something out of one of these guys that nobody else could get out of him. All I'm saying is I have no expectations of it. If the Ravens bring on Jadeveon Clowney at this point, I think he's a body and not a whole lot more than that. That doesn't mean, to your point, that they shouldn't or that they couldn't or that they can't or anything along those lines. I just have no expectation of him being anything other than a guy.
They have to make some sort of acquisition, whether it's in the secondary or the pass rush, and maybe it's a trade and it doesn't happen until 4 to 5 weeks.
Encourage them to do both.
Well, yes, I would too.
I think both are.
They have to.
Look, I hope that David Ojabo is a rock star. I hope he is so bloody good that this is a silly conversation. Yeah. But it's weird to me that both of these things were just kind of left as is. It's weird that we are this deep into it and that the team has essentially said, no, we're not doing anything. Or at this point, if you're doing something, it's going to be fairly minimal. And that's kind of the reality of the circumstances. Thanks to Pat Kirwan for hopping on with us. Drew Forrester is going to join us.
He said he is running a few minutes late.
Why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't he be? You want to tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland?
Yeah, I do. This one I'm pretty excited about, the F1 race simulator. So start your engines and get revved up for the ultimate racing experience between August 31st and September 3rd. That's Labor Day weekend. Just steps away from the Maryland's #1 sportsbook, you will be able to visit the FanDuel F1 simulator located at Sports and Social. Labor Day weekend, the F1 race simulator. So that's an exciting one. At Arundel Mills, you must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That's pretty cool. I do kind of dig that. I like that a lot. All right, we will cover everything with Drew whenever he chooses to arrive, which could be anytime, frankly. So please stay anyway. We'll definitely go over Would You Rather Wednesday, for sure. I know we'll do that. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Who was first to report this? Was it Aaron Wilson?
Yeah, I'm seeing Aaron Wilson.
All right, Aaron Wilson from formerly, of course, the Baltimore Sun, now down in Houston. Aaron Wilson says the Ravens have signed defensive tackle Broderick Washington to a 3-year, $17.5 million contract extension, which includes $6.3 million combined in signing and option bonuses with $10 million total guaranteed. This takes something off the list, obviously, as Broderick Washington was a pending free agent. And if he were to have a big season, then could have created a scenario by which you felt like you had to tag him. Now, I don't know if I expect Broderick Washington to have the type of big season that would put him in that. Broderick Washington's been a nice player and a solid pick and all of those things. It, I think, puts Justin Madubuike a little more under focus. I think we all are of the belief that Justin Madubuike can be a high-level player, and in moments we have seen him be a truly high-level player. But a few years ago, the Justin Madubuike spin kind of got out of control. There was the insanity of Peter King talking about him being like defensive player of the year before the season, which was one of the most – I like Peter King. Understand that. Like, I am a Peter King guy, and I've always appreciated his work. But I remember, like, Kyle and I having a 10-minute conversation the morning after that where I was like, am I taking crazy pills? It don't work this way. Justin Madubuike could really take a really quality step forward as a player this year, and if he improved greatly, he still wouldn't be in this realm. This is nuts. And I feel like that then kind of changed like expectations surrounding Justin Madubuike. I swear to God, and I love my former producer Kyle, great guy. I love him still to this day. Hope to see him at my house on Saturday. Are you coming, by the way, Griffin? Are you going to show up?
What time's your?
Oh, for God's sake!
The Ravens preseason game, and I gotta go.
Are you serious?
Well, yeah, I'm serious, and I'm working earlier in the day, so. But I would like to.
Appreciate you the priority.
I would like to. Well, Ravens preseason is #1 priority. You know that.
Kyle, I remember in the aftermath of that was like, I think Justin Madubuike could be a 10-sack guy, and I just remember like my jaw agape. What? Which might not be as bad as the time that he guaranteed the Browns would win 6 games in the year that they won
0. He guaranteed 6 games.
Guaranteed 6 wins.
Who was that? What was that?
Guaranteed
Deshaun
6 wins.
Kaiser or
no?
No?
It might have been Cody Kessler. I don't know who was. Wild, dog. Wild. But yeah, that one stood out as a big one for me. But it kind of puts Madubuike back under the microscope a little bit because the question is one way or the other. Does he have a good season but not a great season? And the Ravens say he's going to price himself out of Baltimore. If he has a great season, is this the way that they protect themselves to make sure they have the franchise tag to use on him? I'm so confused. There's not an easy answer for me on Justin Madubuike. And remember, I was on board with the contract the Ravens gave Brandon Williams a few years ago, but a lot of people were bothered by it because Brandon Williams never was enough of a factor in the backfield.
Yeah.
He was a run stuffer, and he was a very good run stuffer, as we literally saw every time the Ravens played with or without him. It was one of those tropes.
A guy was running for 100 yards if he wasn't on the field.
Nick Chubb is still running somewhere right now when Brandon Williams wasn't on the field. I have not fully figured out the Justin Madubuike thing, other than to say, I know he's good, but what makes him so good? And I haven't fully been able to get to the bottom of exactly what you'd be missing without Justin Madubuike and exactly how I don't know. But it's interesting that they prioritize getting it done with Brad, which makes you wonder if they also attempted to get it done with Justin Madubuike, and his response was more like, I want to bet on myself. And I believe now with Calais gone that this could be a big year for me, and there could be a robust market for my services this offseason if I were to become a free agent. So I'm going to bet on myself and not do a deal. Now, again, these are all things I'm spitballing. I don't know what any of the thought process was. But, you know, you kind of have to think about some of these things and the possibility of it. But I'm good. Broderick Washington's been a nice player. Like, he is
5th round pick. Like, yeah.
Yes, this is a success story, right? And I think this was a good thing to do. It was a good thing to take a guy who's been a solid player, give him reasonable money, get this squared away. One last thing that you have to worry about. I think that makes sense. So from that standpoint, thumbs up. Thumbs up on getting it done with Broderick Washington. More interesting questions exist as far as the other guy, Madubuike, and what that means. And, of course, J.K. Dobbins is a pending free agent, but I just assume, like, it's funny because the thought process in the NFL is now draft a back, keep him from as long as you can, tag him twice, and let him walk. If J.K. Dobbins already is frustrated about this, if maybe the Ravens at one point did have the thought process of, if he has a nice season, we'll tag him, we'll have him play for us again next year, and then we'll let him go after that. But does going through this make them say, we don't really want to deal with that again if we were to tag him? And the Ravens, as we know in their history, have typically not wanted to use the tag on a player they weren't planning to sign. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it didn't work out with Matt Judon, but we know that wasn't a gimmick. That wasn't a, let's tag him purposely to let him walk next year. Like, they did attempt to sign Matt Judon. It didn't work. Once upon a time, years upon years ago, Wally Williams, they did that too as well. But, I mean, that was literally a generation ago, so it's hard to compare those things. In the modern era of the Ravens, they have not liked to use the tag as a gimmick. To them, the tag is what we do in order to extend the window and make sure we get someone signed. So it would be very interesting, the decision that they would have about whether or not they do what the NFL is now doing, which is tag running backs because we're not going to sign them, and we just want to keep them around for another year at a cost that's for 1 year reasonable. Are they willing to do that? How does his frustration impact a decision like that? Complicated question. And I don't have definitive answers about it. But, you know, that's it. That's where we are. The news is Broderick Washington. That's what matters. Why don't we just squeeze in the last break here, and then we don't have to worry about taking another one?
If you want to.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I mean,
Orioles made a move. They optioned Joey Crable for Jacob Webb.
Oh, right, who they
just
picked up from the Angels? Is that where he was? The Angels?
I think D-backs.
Sure. I mean, I don't know what to say. Sure.
Yeah.
By the way, I guess Kevin Zeitler could also be a tag option. I hadn't thought about that.
What,
31 or 2? Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But again, I don't. Oh boy, it's more complicated. Oh, look who showed up. What are they doing at Eagles Nest? They're just ripping off?
I'm so aggravated.
First of all, I have so many questions as this guy comes storming into the studio.
So mad.
About what?
You know what?
No, I don't know about what.
Yeah, you do. It's been the story. They moved the Masters.
Okay, there we go.
I
wanted to get
was
there.
Supposed to be the first full week in April, and they moved it to the week after.
Wait, what? Is this legit?
Yeah. It's supposed to always be the first full week in April.
This can't be real. Did they really do that?
It was supposed to. It's always the first full week in April.
This is going to coincide with the dodgeball
This is bad shtick, right?
They moved it to the 8th or the 14th.
That didn't actually happen.
They did.
Didn't happen. Stop
it. Check the schedule.
Check what schedule?
It's the first time in 35 years it hasn't been the first full week of April.
The Masters are
April 8th to 14.
They are. You're right about that. What is the problem? Did you already book flights
you can
or
burn
something?
This shirt too. For all I care.
Good to see you. Good to see
mountain.
You. Did they just
okay? Oh, Kyle Tucker
all right,
climbed that mountain.
All right. So what's the deal with the shirt? Did they just? Is this just a ripoff, or is there like a partnership or something? Like
partnership with who? Eagles Nest.
They clearly stole the font that was, and it was terrible. I didn't care for it. It was invented by Maryland for their logo.
Oh, I never.
And then put the
I didn't know that
flag. That's literally the font that they use. Have you really not seen that?
No, but okay.
So there's nothing to the story.
Well, we're in the state of Maryland.
I understand that, but the point was there like a partnership of some sort, or
with the state of Maryland? No, we're in the state of Maryland. Eagles Nest is in Phoenix, 2/11/31.
What else?
We're in the state of Maryland.
What else?
You heard any good Oriole jokes recently?
No, haven't. You got any gum? What else?
I've never seen anything like. I've seen a lot of stuff, man. I'm 60. I've seen a lot of stuff in my life.
Yep.
This one, this is the all-time cake topper.
Well, if you want me to disagree with you, is it okay? Hang on. Is it the all-time?
It's a national story.
I know, but is it the all-time cake topper?
Yes.
Drew? Is it?
Yes. Tell me another story that's involved this moribund franchise that has drawn this sort of national attention.
I don't know how to compare it.
This is not getting squirted with the gun at the game.
No one cared about that.
But that was a local story.
It wasn't even a local. It was a story for one guy.
This isn't a walkout, which was a big local story.
That was a national story. That's not true. That was a national story.
But barely.
Well, okay. I mean,
But this.
I don't know, man. It was a national story.
This is
I'm going to push back on. I was living and working in Phoenix when that happened. I was not there.
Right.
It was a national story.
Okay.
It was a big
But
story.
but that wasn't generated by the club. It was generated by morons.
Certainly wasn't. Raise your hand.
Me.
Right.
Raise
your hand.
This is unbelievable that they've done this. And here's what's more.
Obviously that part of that is right.
But here's what's more unbelievable. That this has been going on now for the better part of 48 hours.
And nothing. Right.
And they haven't said a word.
I know. I understand. I'm with you.
It's unreal.
Radio silence. It's not okay. Okay. Separate the two.
Unreal.
Things. I'll move
and then
on.
This guy. You can burn this shirt.
Chill. Would you chill with that for a second so we can have a conversation?
XL. I'll take it.
All right, go ahead. It's yours. Okay. Right. Is Ethan wearing XL already?
Yes.
I mean, my God.
Yes.
What the hell is
it's
that?
Snug on me, but it fits him.
Anyway, I'm going to separate. I'll come back to what's the worst one or what's the lowest moment. I'll come back.
By the way, for those of us who had the over last night, we were thrilled with that grand slam.
Yeah, it was good news for you, right? Everybody else in the bar is despondent.
I was the one guy that jumped
hey,
up.
All right.
Get out of here! Get out! Santander, don't you dare catch that ball.
Santander, of course. He was not in right field at that point. They had pulled him for Ryan McKenna, but left Jorge Mateo in center field to handle a fly ball with 2 runners on base in the 9th inning. They thought Santander couldn't be on the field for the 9th inning, but Mateo, noted quality center fielder,
who made a good catch earlier in the game.
Did make a good catch earlier in the game. They thought he was
the one. Well, they didn't have a manager at that point.
That is true.
So the other guy didn't apparently.
Freddie Gonzalez
didn't care.
All
right, go ahead.
What I'm struggling with is how to reconcile the team being good and whether or not these two things can stay completely separated from each other. And I mean not like today.
You're asking if they can.
Right. What I'm not saying is that today I think that the players. Here's my guess, and we talked about it with Dan.
So
Connolly
you're asking if this can, if there's any way that this could derail the team.
And let me flush it out a little bit, right? Let me just flush the thought through. I don't know how much any of the players knew or cared about this topic yesterday. I don't know how many of them pay attention to Twitter. I don't know how many of them. I don't know. I'm gonna guess they all heard these chants last night and were kind of like, what is that?
How could you
if they
not?
didn't know, right?
12,000 people chanting
and
that.
asked questions afterwards. And so by this point, I assume everyone knows. But I don't think it had anything to do with Felix Bautista giving up a grand slam in the ninth inning. I don't think the two have anything to do with each other. But you and I have seen enough to know that at some point, frustration can kick in, right? We used to joke about Dave Tremblay and the was it Tremblay who had the noise outside in the hallway?
Melmore's kids.
Like, guys, this is it's at some point it's hard.
I don't even know what to say anymore. This is very
hard to leave it alone.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting that's today. I'm not suggesting that's tomorrow. But if things don't get better, if there isn't resolution to this issue, if there's still an acrimonious relationship between the fan base and John Angelos, and if fans continue to bring signs to games and chant things at games, does it at any point, a team that has appeared impervious to any outside influence or any disappointment, is there any concern that at some point between now and the end of the season there can be an impact on the baseball team?
100%.
Okay.
Without question. And it's not, and it is a snowball. So it's not something that happens, like you said. It wasn't the reason why he gave up the grand slam last night. There were 8 moving parts to that thing. The ball that got knuckled over Gunnar Henderson's head. Who was it that hit that got the single? Alvarez. I mean, that was a well-hit ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kid Tucker, who, by the way, had 4 home runs before last night, had a nice at-bat, fouled off a bunch of pitches, and then fouled the ball off. McCann catches it, ball game. He doesn't catch it, right? Like, so you win some of those, you lose some of those, and those things happen. But the scene you just described, if tonight there's and let me stop real quick. I don't know that people got thrown out last night.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable talking about that yet either.
I don't know now.
I would add, even if there were people that were thrown out, I don't know that there weren't other things going. Like, and I said this earlier.
Okay, but
that what I've heard is that these guys got thrown out for chanting something. Well, if you were throwing out people that were chanting something, you would have had thrown out basically half of the stadium. So,
correct.
Like, I don't know.
I haven't seen a video of one person getting thrown out for chanting. I haven't seen that.
Fair. And if somebody's telling me that they did, I don't know that person wasn't also dropping F-bombs or something like
maybe.
that.
Now, I do, as a segue into this, I do have 2 people that I trust who said that 100% people got thrown out for chanting for free Kevin Brown. They were told not to, and then they continued. Okay. So if that were to happen again, and the reason I bring that up is just to say this.
Right.
If that were to happen again tonight.
Mm-hmm. And then it becomes a bigger story.
Because you know the chant's happening tonight. And if they throw people out tonight and it snowballs, here's the blessing. They're leaving Thursday.
Right.
There is a blessing to this.
Correct.
Right? They're leaving on Thursday. They'll be gone for 10 days. This will simmer down somewhat.
Well, there will be other stories in baseball that will come up.
Well, but this will simmer down.
Somebody's going to get popped for steroids. Somebody's going
to... they don't do that anymore. Unless he doesn't appear on Friday.
Right, but it won't simmer down here. Right. But I don't know how much that will impact the team as they're on the other side of the country.
Once they get out of Baltimore, it will greatly change the players' perception of how big of a story this is. Tonight and tomorrow, it's going to be front and center. And if they were smart, and man, that is like jumbo and shrimp. They don't go together. They would say something today, 12:30, 2 o'clock. Kevin Brown will be back on the broadcast Friday night. They would say that instead of this innocuous, we look forward to having Kevin back with us soon. Kevin will be back on the air on Friday night. We're not going to comment about the other stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's enough at this point.
No. It might not be enough.
Yeah.
But it will at least get them to the next stage of this, which is he's coming back on Friday night. We're not going to talk about what happened. This, and part of what's going on also is the fact that whenever they gave that statement to, wasn't Barstool. Who'd they give the statement to?
Awful announcing?
No, they gave a statement that said he was not suspended.
Oh, that was The Athletic.
He was not suspended for that comment.
Right.
100% he was. You're just saying that to deflect what we all know is the truth.
Well, they would probably, even in the world where that's the truth, they'd still probably try to find a way to
100%.
massage it
They're
and
going to
say,
wiggle their way out of it.
Right.
But therein lies the rub. Like, just put an end to it and just say he's coming back on Friday. We're excited to have him back. He'll be at 10 o'clock in front of you on your TV Friday night. And then the next step is, then what happens on Friday? So this is, you're just piecemealing this until you get the finish line is Friday. What happens on Friday? Does he say anything? Does he not address it? Do they do what they normally do? And that is act like nothing happened. Because that's what they tried to do here.
That's what we assume they would do.
They tried to do that here. Then when it first came out, in the first 2 hours, they tried to claim he was on a pre-scheduled vacation.
Time off, right.
Then they quickly realized, oh, well, that isn't going to work. And so then what happened? So they got to get to Friday. But they have 2 home games to navigate their way around. And look, they could lose these next 2 because they're playing the Astros, not because they farted around with the TV guy.
Right.
But these all matter.
Sure.
These games are important.
Of course they do.
The games.
Yes.
This is uncharted territory for us in the last 6 years. We haven't had a game that's mattered here in 6 years, which is also one of the parts about this that's unthinkable.
Yes, is that this is happening. Yes, obviously that's.
If we're 50 and 100, who cares?
Correct.
Like, this is unreal that they didn't somehow nip this right away. Right away. And look, as much as my initial background in sports was in PR, I could write this with my eyes closed. And Kevin would have to agree with it. And I think for $200,000, he would agree with it. Hey, Kevin, here's what we're going to say. There are certain policies that we've established within the club as it relates to our broadcasting team over the last several years that we expect our announcing team to follow.
Mm-hmm.
In several broadcasts over the last 3 months, Kevin has unintentionally overstepped. And I'm just spitballing.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ways to articulate this and put together something and say we're not answering any more questions about it. Here's what happened. Now, if Kevin wants to talk about it, go ahead, Kevin. Hey, by the way,
Kevin, you're not going to talk about it.
You're not going to talk about it. But if Kevin wants to talk about this, he can talk about this all he wants.
Well, and to your point that you could get someone to agree to do that with money. You could, but that is certainly not their MO, right?
When I said $200,000, I meant his salary.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? But that's not their MO either. Their MO is not to pay.
Well, their MO here's their MO.
Correct.
This is, and this isn't Drew saying this. This is the Orioles doing this. Drew's just saying it.
Right.
But this isn't something I dug up. Anytime the Orioles come to a crossroads with an employee who, in their mind, stepped out of line, they just fire him. That's what they do. They didn't like the PA guy tweeting about the Ravens. They fired him the day of the game. They didn't like some things Jim Hunter said, and Gary Thorne reveling in what they thought was a Red Sox grand slam. They fired him. That's what they do. You're out. So this is not all that odd, other than what was said was totally benign.
Right.
This is different. This is different than what Brenneman said.
Yeah. But that's where we are. What we are is the established part of this is there's nothing defensible, there's nothing justifiable, there's
goofy,
nothing.
Which you do a lot.
Right.
If you say something, you never do. When I'm about to say, if you say something here that is objectionable, here,
right?
You're John Colson's going to call you in and say, Glenn, you can't say that.
Yeah, we can't do that. You can't say that on behalf of Pressbox. And look, even things.
And if you do, again,
right?
If you dropped an F-bomb on the air about the Preakness horse,
never happened. Never occurred.
But, this
didn't occur.
This is not, and I think this is important to distinguish. all of us, but when I say we, all of us, we all have a tendency to pile on these guys,
yes,
right? Because of the last 30 years. We have a tendency to pile on them.
Yes.
And there's documentation to support that.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anything wrong with the ball club saying, as an example, with the ball club saying to their announcers, you got to wear Oriole gear.
It's insane that we're fighting about that. There is absolutely, this is the way
when
that
I
it
walk
works.
into Calvert Hall,
Correct.
I wear a Calvert Hall golf shirt.
You abide.
Never do I walk into Calvert Hall without wearing a Calvert Hall golf shirt. No one's ever told me.
Well, okay, but that
they
would be
give
different.
me.
If they told you, we expect you to wear a suit, and you want the job, you'd wear a suit.
Correct.
I said this the other day.
When
I'm working for the Women's Lacrosse World Championships for ESPN, and I am up above a stadium in sweltering heat, and they tell me, we expect you to wear a suit and tie, I'm wearing the suit and tie.
Correct.
That's what I'm doing.
There isn't anything wrong with that. And
yes,
so,
at all.
So I bring that up to say, because we all do pile on them, we all treat everything they do with disdain, and that's not accurate. There are things that they can do that they have the right to do, to say, these are the as our broadcaster,
right.
We expect this from you.
Yeah.
We expect you to, ready? You're going to love this line, bleed a little orange and black.
I've heard that somewhere before.
When the team stinks,
yeah.
We would appreciate it if you don't tell everyone the team stinks. They're watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
They see the score's 11-2.
Right.
You
don't need to rub it in.
Right. Yep. I get that. I did it. I was in the soccer business. I get it. I would have, if we were losing 9-1 and Gary Stein was pissing all over Scott Manning, I'd have probably said, "Gary, take it easy."
Right.
Right. So
by the way, I don't do that when I work for Loyola. I don't do that when I work for.
But what happened in this? But what happened in this? Whatever happened, it's insane that they allowed this to bother them. These comments, this offhand attempted humor about this credit card that has aggravated them. He wasn't saying that anyone stole his credit card.
This is at most a conversation. Any of this, anything at all.
Hey, Kevin.
Correct.
When you and Ben joked around about the credit card thing, please tell me you weren't inferring that someone stole it
or present it that way. Can you sit and ask and just say, "Hey, can I ask you to think about what we're thinking about? Can I ask you to think about how we have to deal with this, and it's an issue that people bring up to us all the time, and what we maybe don't need is anyone to hear what you think you're saying, but what they might hear as a reminder of, well, that's why I don't want to go to the games because if I go downtown, my credit card gets stolen.
And when you hear the clip, what's really hilarious is it's said with all this background noise going on. Ben McDonald, here's a shocker. Ben McDonald's audio levels are off. You can't really hear what he's saying. He mumbles something about his wallet, and Michael Taylor's at the plate, and Kevin's trying to do play-by-play and trying to be funny, and it comes across as A, awkward, B, almost unlistenable, in reality unlistenable. You can't hear it. It wasn't even It's totally different if he says, well, we are in downtown Baltimore here, Ben.
Right, of course, yeah. And
when I was out there, you never know what might get stolen out of your pocket.
Correct.
Like, it's insane that they let this. And then this other comment that he made about the ball bouncing off the concrete, hitting the wall, and, no one's ever hit the wall, and that one didn't hit the wall. Nothing ever will. Like, who cares? No one cares. It doesn't mean the stadium's deformed. It doesn't mean I'm not. Damn. Hey, Glenn, you want to go to the ballpark tomorrow night?
No way.
I'm not going.
If nobody's going to hit
no one's ever hit the wall before. What moron lets that bother them?
All right. Wait a second. Because I'm trying to do the bit where I'm not. The one thing that I have said I'm not going to do this week is the name calling thing. I'm not doing the name calling thing because it's just I'm not. It's not
that's
for
not
me.
really a name calling thing.
It is. It is.
You're a moron.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. Well.
I'm just not.
You mean I can't call other people besides you that?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just going to choose to avoid the name calling. I'm not going to do the name.
What kind of person
Right.
lets that bother them?
No problem. I agree with the sentiment. I'm just trying to avoid the name.
What kind of name? And look, here's the other thing. And this is also a tentacle of this that is a story that no one really wants to talk about. And that is that certain people in the market are restricted from commenting on it.
Right.
And certain people aren't.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
And everyone who's in the media has to, if you're not totally self-employed, which by the grace of God I am, but if you're not, you have, at some point, you have a concern about the level in which you impale these guys for this fiasco, because you could be next.
There's obviously,
except for Jim Palmer.
Right.
No.
That's correct.
No,
That part is
I'm
correct.
not joking.
No, I know.
That's the truth.
Right, I know.
Jim
I know.
has, other
Yes.
than making some racist comment or something stupid, but he never would do, Jim has full license to talk
Right.
about Manny Machado.
Right.
He can talk about the wall.
Yep.
He can talk about maybe a credit card's missing.
Yep.
He can talk about, well, the Rays have been really good. He can say all of that, and he is
all of the forbidden.
He's
all of the forbidden fruit.
He's exempt from any sort of treatment because of his legacy, which I'm all for.
Oh, well, I mean, sure, I'm all for that too. It's also a little bit weird that we're pretending like I was at the game Saturday night. Did you go, or did you?
No, I was at the beach.
Did you watch any of the ceremony?
Oh,
they celebrated.
I did, but I don't know what you're talking about.
They celebrated the 1983 World Series. Right?
Yeah, they made a big deal about him, right?
Who would be the last person that you would introduce? Who would be the big featured part?
He
of
was
that
on the
ceremony?
team.
You're right. He was on the
but
team.
He didn't have much to do with it.
It was
it was weird.
A little bizarre.
Right.
And I couldn't help but feel a little bit of what you're like.
Well, that could be right, and that could be a little bit of Jim. I'll do this, but
but you got to make a big deal out of me. Yeah.
Of course.
Well, he was the sage of the team, so you
No,
know.
no, but I could see. I mean, look, we've all been around him.
I know.
I like Jim
know,
Palmer.
I know.
But I've been around Jim a lot.
I know.
In my former life.
Right.
Jim. It would not put Jim.
I'm not saying I put it past, but I would be. It would.
I think Jim probably said, "How am I getting featured?" And the Orioles might have said, "Well, Jim, we're going to introduce you with the rest of the guys," and Jim might have said,
No, you're not." I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
You know 221 complete games, right?
You heard of me, Jim Palmer? You're familiar with
So,
my work?
I don't know, man.
Underwear
I've never
commercials?
seen anything like this.
Let me go back to a more relevant part of this to me. I feel like as much as this is about Kevin Brown, it was funny. I did Buster Olney's podcast today, right? And he said, what percentage of this do you think is specifically about Kevin Brown versus it being the next thing that fans are dealing with Orioles ownership? Like, how much of each of those things are coming out when someone's chanting free Kevin Brown? Is it just about Kevin Brown, or is it 20% about Kevin Brown, 80% about the frustrations that you've dealt with the team? And his suggestion was that it's 40% Kevin Brown and 60%.
Who was this?
Buster.
Okay.
60% the frustrations that you've dealt with the Angeloses and all of those things. And I don't know exactly what the number is, but he's on to something. There is an amount of this, as much as Kevin Brown has become.
Look, here I'll say this, because you don't want to, and it's okay that you don't want to, or not that you don't want to, but we make way, way, way too much of a big deal about the broadcasters.
Probably.
In general.
Probably.
We just do.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is go to Twitter on a Sunday night and read everybody getting pissed off because Chris Collinsworth mentions Lamar Jackson third instead of second in his monologue. Like,
probably, but Kevin Brown is a good broadcaster,
No,
and has fit in very nicely here. And I don't.
But if Kevin Brown leaves this year, but if Kevin Brown would have left this year to go work for the Braves, no one's buying one less ticket to the game.
That part is true. I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying I don't think the response would have been the same. With all due respect to Brett Hollander, I don't think the response would have been exactly the same to Brett Hollander. I do think that part of this,
I would agree with that.
And I like
would agree with
this
that.
is not a shot at Brett.
No,
I like Brett.
I would agree
this
with that.
I do believe that part of this is that Kevin Brown has found this unique niche spot within this community and this fan base where people really enjoy watching and listening to the
I would agree.
broadcasts.
I would say this, and this will be my roundabout way of agreeing with it. And I like Brett too, by the way. But Brett in the community. No, that's the wrong way to say it. But Brett is polarizing as it relates to people's opinion of his skill set. Hear me out.
Okay.
If you go online or Brett's doing a game, you'll get a bunch of people on Twitter say Brett's terrible. You'll get a lot of people say Brett's great. You don't ever get somebody say Kevin Brown's terrible.
No.
That's my
almost. I mean, there's people that just hate
some
everything.
moron, right?
Yeah, correct.
Some person.
Right.
But
thank you.
So
I appreciate you.
But I'm saying that again, not a shot at Brett. We're all polarizing, right? You know what I mean? Like a friend of mine always says that guy's an acquired taste. I'm like, dude, I got news for you. We're all an acquired taste,
right?
But we're all polarizing. But Kevin Brown apparently isn't. So that does lend itself to what you said. And I do think.
But I still think he's right. I still think it's a reflection of both things. Because what I really think
we are dying to continue to pile on this ownership group. We're dying to do it.
Right.
Because they, at every turn, just when you think.
Yes, there's unforced error after unforced error. And I think that the other part of what's coming out and what I have felt is it's a reminder that if it's not this, it's going to be something else. And that's
it's going to be the lease.
I have felt an extraordinary amount of angst over their. It's just a reminder they're always going to get in their own way. Like, they're always going to screw it up for themselves. And when I bring up the question about how it impacts the baseball side of things, it's what I'm feeling from the fan base is we can't just ever have something nice. We can't just ever enjoy and have a hope and expectation without being kicked in the teeth again.
Right. We've turned a corner.
Without there being a reminder of they can't do this. They're going to screw it up. And that's the difficult part about this. The difficult part is where I try to be reasonable and not call names and like have a conversation about it. I can't step in and say, no, definitively, I believe they can stay out of their own way. I can't say that.
Well, there's
because
nothing
what
in
evidence do I have of it?
Zero.
Exactly
there's no
right.
history that shows you that and this, like I said, like this one is the all. And now, I also do think it's fair to say this, and frankly, we should have said this at the beginning, because this does get lost. There is no question at all, period, that this all was not John's doing. The buck might stop with him in terms of his authorization of it, but this was not all his idea. I'm just saying that. I know that. And
I've heard,
this was not all his idea.
I don't think.
And someone said to me yesterday they referred to it as a needed. Now again, someone referred to this yesterday as a needed clipping of the wings, right? Because
I thought you can't clip these wings.
Right.
That one.
Because they have had a couple of instances, as goofy as they are, that they think he's overstepped his bounds, right? John is not the one who saw or encountered all of these things on his own. They were brought to him as a compilation, but the Tampa Bay one was his baby, lack of a better term, because he's the one in the organization that doesn't like them glorifying the Rays. So I do think it's fair to point that out. I am not defending them, Lord knows, and I'm not even trying to defend John. But I will say that it's important to realize that others in the organization wanted this, approved of this, authorized it, suggested it, whatever word you want to put in there. You have to be willing to acknowledge that.
I've heard that too, and I think I've said that. I think I've.
It's important to say that though, because John is the one getting all of the criticism.
And I think to the point, we wouldn't be here. Here is John. It is.
That's fair.
To the point. There are other things.
That's why I said at the end he signed off on it.
Correct. Here
there was an order came in, and he ordered the code red. He did it. He's Nathan Jessup. In the end, he did it.
Yeah.
But Kiefer Sutherland came to him first and said, "I think this guy's getting out of line. He fired across the defense line when he shouldn't have.
Right.
Maybe we should order a code red." And John Angelos said, gag him. I would agree with that. I don't think there's any way you could dispute that. But I do think it's important to note Kiefer Sutherland came in first and said, saw that thing last night.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying.
Saw the clip against the Twins about the wallet. Can't have it.
Right.
You have to be willing to acknowledge that. Not to take any heat off of John, but to understand that this is not just John sitting at his desk.
But there's
saying,
still an awful lot of – and this is the other difficult part about this. As I say, what's frustrating is I think an entire country felt –
By the way, they better hope the team doesn't go into a tailspin.
Oh, I hear you. I think the entire country
Oh,
felt
my God.
like the team was getting an amount of comeuppance last night, right? Like a national broadcast
Sure.
game.
It's like the women's soccer team.
Everybody's
all-
that's not the entire country.
But-
That's half of, like
right. But everybody felt like, that Rapinoe got hurt.
Right.
She got
if,
hers.
If you don't, you
Then
wanted
come
that,
on.
right? If that's the way
Right.
that you feel.
Right.
I think the opportunity was there for the Orioles to almost become America's sweethearts, right? Like that as we got to the playoffs, that anyone whose team wasn't involved would find themselves saying, I'm going to root for the Orioles. I'm going to root for the little guy. I'm going to root for the underdog here. I'm going to root for them. And then after this, there's something else. There's the hell with that. I'm not going to root for them. And that's not fair to the players. It's not fair to Brandon Hyde. It's not fair to Mike Elias. And importantly, it's not fair to, and I kept saying this, the training staff, the grounds crew, anybody who's not the communications department, the ticket sales, the scout, any of these people have nothing to do with this.
Right.
Like, this is not them.
There's a term in golf called you can't get out of your own way,
Mhm.
right? And it happens when you're, and again, this all happens in levels. It could be the first time you're going to break 90, the first time you're going to break 80, the first time you're going to break 70. You stand on the 15th hole, and you're 4 under, and you've never been under par in your life, and you say this to yourself: There's probably no way I could goof this up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in such good shape here. I'm hitting it great. I got an easy hole here, and the next thing you know, you're 1 over standing on 18T, and your head's spinning, and you don't know how it happened, but you got in your own way. Right, and that's what they do. They can't get out of their own way. It's all. I have a very, very good friend of mine. I wrote this today at Drew's Morning Dish. I have a very good friend of mine who I consider to be extraordinarily smart, who says to me, there is no question in his mind this is intentional. And he gives me
I know this type of person.
He
right?
gives me
like,
a bunch of very valid reasons why, and says this is what the setup is.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it from 35,000 feet and say you're insane, just like the people who say that we flew those planes into the buildings are insane, or it was a controlled explosion.
Right.
You people are nuts. But when I look at it from 5,000 feet, I say there might not be another explanation.
Yeah,
but you can't be this insane.
I'm not willing.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
But how could you do this to yourself?
But
you're 70 and 40.
Right, I understand. And but yet there's not a whole lot of surprise. There really isn't. Like, there's outrage, but not a lot of shock. That's the difference, because
it's unreal. They better hope this thing doesn't fall. If this, because it's baseball, not because of like the baseball gods, because it's baseball, and there are stories of all over the place for years about teams that have collapsed in September, gobs of them.
Yep.
They better hope they're not one of them.
No, it would be very bad. There's no question about
that.
Very bad.
If they somehow, and I don't think they're capable of this, but if they somehow go 8-18 over the next month, oh my Lord.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt.
Oh
All right,
my God.
let me play Would You Rather Wednesday with
Nah,
you.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Today's show brought to you by Superbook. And you sign up at Superbook right now and use the code GlennClark23. That's GLENNCLARK.
I did that, and they canceled my membership.
No, they didn't do that at all. That wouldn't be the case whatsoever.
Oh, boy, I'm in trouble.
What they would do is
that was a joke.
Yeah, well,
sorry, John. That was
better be careful over
that.
that.
Was a joke.
Might find yourself
I put Glenn Clark
not being suspended. Glenn Clark 23. That is Glenn Clark 23 when you sign up at Superbook, and they will match your first bet up to $250. Win or lose.
Oh.
So you make a $250. Yeah, right. All of a sudden, you make a $250 bet. You win big. You turn that $250 into $1,000, and you still have $250 worth of free bets coming your way. You make a $250 bet. You lose. You still have $250 worth of free bets coming your way. If your first bet is $75, they match it to $75. If it's $175, $175. If it's $275, $250. First bet up to $250 matched win or lose. When you use the
I don't know how you
code,
can beat that.
Glenn
Because you're
Clark,
either going to win or lose.
that's correct. Those are the options. Glenn Clark, I guess you could push. So I should say win, lose, or push. Glenn Clark 23 is the code. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app.
Well, you never push in baseball.
In baseball, but that's not the only bet that they're willing to match. They're willing to match any bet,
Take
which
it easy.
could involve push.
How's this read going? Good?
Not great.
Superbook, go there today.
Come to your house. And
Do all
show
your
them.
betting. Do all your betting at Superbook.
Would you rather Wednesday, number 1. Would you rather? You get a guarantee that John Means will come back and be John Means.
Well, who else would he be?
But, like the real, the John
I
Means.
thought you meant like come back as somebody else. Like Don Gullett or something.
It's a fun week of doing shows, man. I got to tell you.
Hey, you look like John Means. Nope, it's not my name anymore. I'm Jim Abbott.
Well, in fairness, you remember this happened to Tiger Woods once.
Correct.
Once upon a time.
No doubt. Got any questions
Drew,
in the back?
Drew started a show and said, if you could ask any one question to Tiger Woods, what would it be? And I said, didn't you used to be Tiger Woods?
Wasn't there a time when you were Tiger Woods? What happened to you?
That's not the case.
You're a real beauty. Remember when Alex Maselli, he said, you're a real beauty, you know?
Yeah. So,
All right,
John Means comes back, and is John Means,
Okay.
John Means, by September 1st. Or you get a guarantee that Felix Bautista will not blow another save the rest of the season.
Oh.
Now, listen, because I feel like people are struggling with this.
Okay.
Your choice does not impact the other person. Like, this doesn't mean that if you choose John Means, it means that Felix Bautista is going to blow all the saves.
Right.
Just means that you have no guarantee of anything. So your choice has no impact on what the other person does. Which would you?
1,000,000% I'll take Bautista.
Why is that?
Because I now know that if I get 18 games to him, I'm winning 18 games.
For the record, most people have chosen Felix Bautista.
Well,
Not
because
all.
they're smart.
No, I disagree because my choice would be John Means. Because
You're a dummy.
Because on one hand,
So a guy that's going 7 innings, that's like John
Dude,
Means
it's unbelievable how much
John
he
Means.
looks like John Oates.
he does. We've dealt with that a few times.
Oh, you have?
Oh, we've dealt with that a few times.
Sing Sarah Smile for me.
Yeah, you try Maneater over there. Like,
Go ahead.
so I have still strong confidence in Felix Bautista.
Okay.
I don't have any confidence at all in what John Means is going to be.
Well, maybe
So,
you should.
One is found money, essentially. The other is something that I largely believe is going to happen anyway.
Okay.
So I'll take the thing that I have no certainty about versus the thing that I have reasonable certainty about.
Okay.
So when you say John Means, this is like a guy that's going to go 7 innings
Like
again?
he's
Like
John
that's-
Means, yes.
Okay. I mean, I guess that would be pretty good, but like they haven't had it. They haven't had him all season, and they've gotten they're 70 and 40 or whatever they are. So I like Felix Bautista to never blow a save again as well. That would feel pretty nice. Like when you get to the 9th inning, it's over.
Especially after last night's fiasco.
That was not great. Not great. Number 2, would you rather there's an ownership change for the Baltimore Orioles?
Nah.
Hear me out.
Nah, I'm good with what we got.
Hang on.
This is the dumbest question.
Listen. No. Listen.
Okay.
Listen. There's an ownership change.
Okay.
But it also means
The Ravens go 0-17.
shut up. The players, GM, everybody is gone and replaced with essentially an expansion franchise.
There's still
Well, there's been some talk about this.
Still,
right? Like,
there's still
would
the
you? Would you
yes.
let-
We've talked about
would you
these
let them
types.
go become the Nashville
Right.
Orioles.
Well, no, they become the Nashville whatever they wanted to be, and yet
And the
the
team
Cleveland
goes-
Browns
Right.
stay. It's the same thing.
Call them
You
the Ravens.
immediately have a new Orioles, but
Clippers.
it's an expansion. No, it's all still the same history,
Okay.
colors, everything. But all of the players, everything that's been brewing for the last couple of years, Mike Elias, everybody's gone.
He's going to the Yankees anyway, so you don't have to worry about that.
Or
That's
just
what I heard.
not worth it. That's what you heard. Maybe we should ease up on things that you've heard. Maybe we should
You'll see.
settle that.
You'll be the one to say.
Stop it.
Drew
Just
Drew
stop.
called that one first.
Stop.
Tuck your shirt in.
Yeah.
Who wears a collar and tie with their shirt untucked like that? Only a goof.
doing today?
I mean, that
I
was
saw
really
it.
bad.
Yes,
That
I'm not
was
saying
really
it was.
That
But
kind
what
of
has
stuff
gotten into you?
aggravates me. The older I get, that stuff aggravates
I
me.
have in general. It's not just with
I'll
this
say-
topic. In general, I have gotten to a place where I'm trying to do better about name calling. Like, maybe it's because I'm a dad now, right? Like, maybe it's the. Although, in fairness, I always call my kids' name. I always
like
dummy, 100%.
idiot
calling
and
them.
goof. And,
I always do
Right.
that. But with other people, I'm trying to get a place.
I don't think I called that guy
where
anything wrong, did I?
You just said, what is wrong with that guy? I mean,
I believe
that's
I.
not a name call.
I believe I heard goof in there.
Oh, I think
I believe I heard
I think
that.
he is a goof.
And
If
you
wear
might
your
not.
shirt
You
up
might
tight.
not be wrong.
Man, this is a tough one because I think this compilation of players, this roster,
Yeah.
we got 3 years here before they all leave, where we could be really good.
Remember when I started this and you were like, "This is easy."
But this ownership,
Yeah.
we're keeping the colors,
Keeping the colors.
name,
Yep. History, records, all
team
of it.
goes.
Yep.
The warehouse.
We go 52 and whatever.
Not
for
going to be good.
10
Yeah,
for
probably going to take a little while. Although the Golden Knights didn't take that long.
Everyone likes a lovable loser. I'll take the
You're-
I'll take the new owner. I mean, you got to say the new owner.
Can't do it. I can't do it.
You have
I
to.
know, I understand how you feel, but I can't do it.
Have you
And
been around this week?
I understand. I just can't do it.
New owner.
Overwhelmingly, that's what people
Maybe
are.
we'll get Dan
are on-
Snyder.
are with me.
Yeah, you didn't mention the broadcast team, so we keep the broadcast team.
No, Kevin Brown's got to go too.
Yeah,
He
he's going
stinks.
Well, I don't think. I think that they would prefer he stay. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they don't
How
want
funny
to
would
take him
that
to
be?
Nashville.
John moves the team to Nashville and takes Kevin Brown with him. Like that's the
Love
ultimate
it.
wrestling skit, right?
We're in on it together.
How
The
funny would it
team's
be
not
if they,
moving. Stop with the
Oh,
teams
the-
moving.
you know
Stop
the team's
that.
never moving.
I
I've
know
been saying
that.
that forever.
God,
The
I
team's
just
never moving.
when I do this. By the way, even when I put this on, I had to like give a disclaimer to it.
The team isn't
because
moving.
like I'm so sick
Right.
and effing tired
The
of it.
team is
I'm
not moving.
So
ever.
God,
Right.
shut up.
Right. Now, could and I shouldn't even say this because I don't think baseball would even do this. Would baseball grant an expansion franchise in Nashville and let John Angelos be the owner?
No,
I
not
don't
a
think
chance
so
in hell.
either.
Not a chance.
Right.
They have been in litigation
Would
with
they go-
another team.
But would they go
They're
to
not
Nashville?
going to reward them.
But would the Major League Baseball put a team in Nashville?
No, they want Nashville to get more money out of Tampa. Like Nashville's
But
got to exist.
I could
for them.
see Nashville being a major league city in 10 years.
100, and there's a movement for it, but you have to have cities that are out there. And with Vegas coming off the list, you have to have cities that are out there that want teams in order to suck as much money as you possibly can out of the
Right.
other cities.
Oakland.
I don't think they've tried.
It's not working.
Not working. Not
It's
working.
not. Well, we went back to D.C.
Yeah.
We can go back there. We can go anywhere.
Griffin, you got an
I
answer?
hate this question.
It's not great.
I mean, I guess the new owners probably.
Okay. You've never seen any winning in your life. What difference
Yeah,
does
what
it
do
make?
you care?
All right, and then number 3. Would you rather?
Hey, by the way, I'll check in with you on this off the air.
Oh, good.
But I'll bring it up now. I think Ed Kowalczyk is coming to the Lincoln Theater on his own.
Well,
October the 18th.
That's definitely done again. Like that.
They're back together?
No, they're
They're gone.
definitely. They hate each other again.
Look that up for us real quick there, Skippy.
Like it's
Lincoln
they-
Theater, October 18th, Ed Kowalczyk live.
Let me check my.
Because Morrissey's playing the same night
Where?
at the Anthem.
Well, Morrissey might be
No,
playing.
yeah,
the
I
same
mean,
night.
somebody sent me a text the other day said, you want to go see him? I'm like, is this a joke?
Yeah, I mean, I got to do the radio show on a Wednesday, but we can talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk.
I would go
about it.
down there.
I might. I don't. It's so exhausting. All of that. Like,
Yeah, he's there. October 18th.
It's so
Just him?
Uh,
Because the thing at the Merriweather the other night said live.
What?
It showed live, but it had his
Well,
picture.
then it's just got to be the new, whatever the new version of live is.
Oh, so it's Ed,
It's
and then
Ed
he
and
brought
a-
3 other
a
guys
bunch-
and he's calling them live?
Yes, 100%.
Oh.
There's no, those
Okay.
guys aren't part of it.
yeah. It says live singer and songwriter Ed Kowalczyk. So
It's not live.
yeah, it's not live. It's like
It's not even fake live. It's just Ed Kowalczyk.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just Ed
so
Kowalczyk.
now that's really worth going to see.
Is it though?
Yes, because it could be awful.
Well,
Why
it
is
could be.
this
You're
is
not wrong
bad.
about that.
This is weird.
It could be
all right,
awful.
all right. We got to. I
How
got to
much are the
wrap. We got to.
tickets? What's he trying to
I
scam
don't
us
know.
for?
Ask him. I got to take another break today. Could you
50
finish this?
What are they?
55 to 75.
Would you rather? Have you
Would
watched?
rather pay $55?
Right, to watch. Have you watched the Johnny Manziel thing?
I did.
You did? I thought it was interesting.
I did too. I think it's a
I wish they would have spent more time on his post career, like they
trauma.
or just where he is, like where how he's come through it. Is he in a good place?
I'll tell you what I really took from it.
Yeah.
And he's not the only guy that has fallen victim to this, or girl, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
The unbelievable amount of ego that gets built around college athletes who are standouts. It's
I don't know if ego is the right word. I would say it's brand, because it's not. It doesn't have to come from you. It's everybody else is pushing it upon. Like,
but we're talking about the same thing. It happens because you go from
just being a person,
a kid in high school, flinging a football, or throwing a basketball around, knows nothing about the world.
Yes.
Till you go to these schools, they give you girls, parking spots, cars, stuff you never had in your life.
Right.
And not only do they give it to you, you get the best of it.
Right. And then you're the king of the world, and nobody can tell you anything otherwise.
That's what I really took from it.
Can have
that and now there may be plenty of other Tom Marinovich, there may be plenty of other guys fit this profile.
Yes.
He totally fell victim to that.
Sure. 100%.
Could not handle it.
Absolutely in no way prepared for any of that. But he appears to be in a decent place now. He appears to have come out on the other side of it. He appears to have a healthy understanding of who he is at this point, and
you're a failed quarterback who made
but yet still has the ability to continue profiting off of the success that he had once upon a time. So I asked this question: would you rather
have him instead of Lamar? Yes.
Have the life and career of Johnny Manziel.
Okay.
Heisman Trophy, international fame. Wherever you go for the rest of your life, you're going to be able to profit off of just being Johnny Manziel. But a lot of 100%. Are you kidding me? Dude, he still gets...
The rest of his life might be a exaggeration. But anyway, go ahead.
Bro.
But go ahead.
Like...
If a Subway, if he had a good agent and Subway commercial came around, he could probably...
Well, I mean, Bo Jackson just did commercials for golf clubs, so I guess you're right.
Bo Jackson was a more accomplished pro.
I mean,
that's a different thing. Johnny Manziel will be able to profit off of being Johnny Manziel for the rest of his life. Or...
You and I will fight about that a little bit, but he's vanilla ice to me. But anyway,
how much do you think he would get paid to do an autograph signing right now?
I don't know the parameters for that. 2 hours, $25,000.
Yeah, 2 hours,
$25,000.
I bet that's right.
Yeah,
I bet that's absolutely right.
But you said rest of his life.
I don't, because that's gonna fall off. He's not gonna have won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah,
he's not like the Heisman Trophy is a great. Anyone who won a Heisman Trophy.
I don't know. Pat White. Really?
Pat White didn't win a Heisman Trophy, dog.
Yeah, he did.
The West Virginia quarterback most certainly did not win a Heisman Trophy.
No, that wasn't his name.
I have no idea who you're thinking of.
You know what I'm talking about.
Who are you thinking of?
What was the kid's name? He played at Oklahoma.
Jason White.
Jason
White.
White.
You're thinking of. Yes, Jason White probably is not doing as well, but still almost certainly.
Okay, but
just
I'm
by being a
refuting your
Heisman
thing
winner.
about Heisman. And it's different because Jason White never did anything in his career.
100%.
Remember the time when Johnny Manziel lined up over by the sidelines?
I do remember it. 100%.
And it pulled it off totally.
It worked.
And
then, anyway, I got to go. I have a meeting. I got a thing I got to record. It's a whole thing. Chill. Life and career of Johnny Manziel or life and career of recently retired running back Sony Michel. Sony Michel, for those that don't know, finished his career at the age of 28. Has 2 Super Bowl rings. Was not really a part of them, but has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Patriots and Rams?
And Rams, yes. Made $11 million in his career and is out of football at 28. Life and career of Johnny Manziel or life and career of Sony Michel?
Well, I don't even know what Manziel made, and I'm going to say Manziel.
I don't know that Johnny Manziel.
Mostly because
his net worth. They say his net worth is $6 million right now.
Well, that's probably because he lost a lot of it.
Yeah, but just Google Manziel and girls. That would be my.
That's why I'm
not wrong.
That'd be my answer.
As well.
It's funny because almost everybody has said Sony Michel so far, and they're like, "I would like to be anonymous. I'd like to, have the money and yet not have to worry about going out on the street and anybody recognizing me."
11 million's only 6. Remember.
That's true, right? He doesn't have all of it. That's a great point. But it's pretty clear Johnny Manziel doesn't have all of his money either. But I also think that Johnny Manziel has an easier ability to make. They would never make a documentary about Sony Michel. Netflix has no interest in doing business with Sony Michel. It's not going to happen. Whereas Johnny Manziel can do that again in 5 years. In 5 years, he can go back and, now let me tell you about the stories I didn't tell you in the first one.
Right.
He can always do that. So, What?
Why don't you have my size? A bunch of us were going to the game tonight with UPS outfits on, and we're going to wear signs that say, "What has Brown done for you?" But they don't have my size.
Drew's not actually doing that. He's just doing shtick. Drew'sMorningDish.com.
You got to admit, that'd be pretty good.
What are you doing the golf show on Sunday?
What has Brown done for you?
Thank you. I got it.
In UPS
I understood. Right. Look, I got the concept.
What has Brown done for you?
Oh, no, because it's like the tagline for the commercial.
And it's Kevin Brown.
God, I was struggling with
what
that
has Brown done for you?
I couldn't figure
What has
out.
Brown done to you?
Thank you.
That's a better one. With the UPS
Y'all,
uniform.
if anybody's interested in sitting in Wednesdays here on Glenn Clark Radio.
Kicked out by the first inning, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
Drew's Morning Dish. Are you doing the golf? Are you doing the golf show on Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday, 12-1.
But like really?
Yeah, it's going to be on the air, 12-1.
That's what I thought.
I'm doing my Orioles.
Yeah.
There is a golf radio show airing this Sunday, 12-1.
Look forward to it.
I'm doing it.
I know it'll be with. I'll hear your voice.
Yep.
Fairways and greens.
12-1. And
it'll be good.
And next Sunday too.
Yeah. It'll be good to see you.
I'll be doing the show this Sunday, 12-1.
I was thinking maybe you could stick around and do the first segment with Rita and I on Sunday.
This Sunday, 12-1. I'll be on the
Would
air.
you want to stick around and
Fairways and greens?
Would you want to do a segment with Rita and I afterwards? Would you want to stick her? No?
I'm not very fond of her.
Oh. Hear what she says about you?
I'm kidding.
All right.
I like Rita. It's you that I.
Yeah, I know. Definitely of the two. That's everybody else feels the same way. All right, we'll come back in and get
Is that it?
Yeah, we gotta go.
Oh, you didn't talk. You're not going to talk about the fireworks today on 105.7. Okay.
We can talk about that off the air, and then I can decide if I want to talk about it or not.
Oh.
We'll come back in, get a tidbit and two bit to wrap it up. It's Glenn Clark Radio. You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, two N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. It's the return of Grateful Dead Night on Friday the 18th. A special t-shirt package is available. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday the 19th with our Baytoberfest. Get some beer specials while you enjoy the game. And get here early on Sunday for a pregame Meet the Team autograph session. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressbox online, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, Did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything. I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, we got to get Drew's still lingering around, so maybe he'll hear his voice again. I don't know, but we got to wrap up. We got to go. I got another radio show to do tonight. You'll hear me at 7:00 with Rita. I don't know what we're doing then. Anyway, Tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Press Box, which is only available for like less than a week. So get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, pick it up now, or forever hold your pee. The print issue of Press Box available at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box.
Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, and Austin Riley have all played in each of the Braves' first 110 games of the season.
Well, that seems unlikely,
yeah.
right?
Last time an MLB team had 4 players play in every one of the team's first 110 games, 1944, with the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, let me guess.
Yeah,
it was Joe Nucknight.
Let's see, which one do I want to do next year? Logan Gilbert had a really great outing last night for the Mariners.
Would've
He won
liked him.
7 innings. Yeah, that would have been nice. 7 innings, 12 strikeouts, 1 hit, and no walks. Second time ever in Mariners history that a pitcher has had 10 strikeouts, 10 or more strikeouts, no walks, and 1 or fewer hits. The only other person to do that for the Mariners?
Randy Johnson.
Felix Hernandez.
Okay, he was good too.
In
yeah,
his perfect game, Felix Hernandez.
That was the king.
Thank you. Well, no, the King Felix. Well, maybe not anymore.
He also became the first right-handed pitcher to ever strike out Juan Soto 3 times in one game.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no one's ever
How
done
about
that? to Juan
that?
Soto. That comes from Gary Hill Jr.
All right.
Ramon Laureano, he debuted for the Guardians last night.
Razor Ramon.
Yes, Ramon Laureano. He drove in the
Laser Ramon, sorry.
Laser.
Because
No,
Razor
he's gotta
Ramon's
go
the
home.
wrestler, and he's got strong arms, so he's Laser Ramon.
He drove in the one
Like
and only.
Dwayne Haskins, no longer with us.
Really bad.
How about Kevin Coward? I mean, Kevin
Yeah,
Coward.
not Kevin
Colin
Coward. I think Kevin's okay.
How about Colin Coward?
Well, did
And then
you
he doubled
see?
down on it later and said,
Yeah. He said it twice.
He
100%.
said, well, he
Yeah.
can't win.
Right. He said it
I
twice.
mean, he's on the list.
And then there were other guys on the list that also.
Neither can John Unitas.
There were other guys on the list that also weren't in the NFL anymore. It's absurd.
It's like quality programming, baby.
It's absurd.
What do you want for your 800?
Yeah, I get it. Anyway,
Well,
come on,
Ramon
we gotta
Laureano,
go.
yeah,
We
I
gotta
know.
go.
He drove in the one and only run in their 1-0 win over Toronto yesterday. He's the first player to have the only RBI in a 1-0 win in his team debut with that team since 2018, when he did it with the Oakland Athletics.
Oh, how about that? How about that?
And I'm sorry to have to do this, but on the road this year, Kyle Tucker has now hit 3 home runs in a game. He has had a 20-plus game hitting streak and has now hit a grand slam with his team down 3 in the 9th inning. Only one player in
Other
MLB
quarterbacks
history.
on this list included Paxton Lynch. Definitely not in the league anymore.
This was the list of guys who can't win a Super Bowl this year. Is what he
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, he probably won't.
Don't know if you heard. Carson Wentz not currently employed.
Could win a Super Bowl. That
I guess. I believe E.J. Manuel not currently employed. It's insane.
what is this? What was the point of?
I just keep going.
Only one other player in MLB history has done all 3 of those things on the road in their entire career. Kyle
Done
Tucker's
what?
done it this
Let
season.
me answer this.
Okay.
What
3
is it?
home runs in a game, 20-game hitting streak, and hit a grand slam with his team down 3 in the 9th inning on the road. Kyle Tucker's done that all this season after last night. One other player's done that in their career.
Okay. One other player ever?
Yep, ever.
Ever.
A-Rod.
Not A-Rod.
Bonds.
No.
Not
Pujols.
No.
Pujols.
Josh Hamilton.
Not Josh Hamilton.
Should
Griffey.
No, more
No.
further back.
Those guys are no good.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
There you go.
Well, that
Only-
doesn't count.
How's that not count?
Because Babe Ruth was not
Dynamite
that wasn't
observation.
That wasn't
gotta
real
go.
baseball
All
then.
right, that's it. That's
Hey,
not real.
that's what you
People
got.
were throwing it like 81 miles an hour.
Well, Babe Ruth
And he
did
was
this. Kyle
fat.
Tucker. Kyle Tucker, Babe Ruth.
Doesn't count. Have you seen pictures of Babe Ruth?
Supposed to do with
He
that?
was not an athlete.
What do you say about Prince Fielder?
Close to not being an athlete, but not like Babe Ruth. Babe
So
Ruth
wait a
was-
second. Hang on. I'll be the one
Babe
that.
Ruth's uniform didn't even fit.
What about John Daly? He won 2 major championships.
I think when he won those, he was
Was
fairly
he?
athletic.
Was he?
Not now.
Was he?
First one he was. First one he was 24.
Oh, God.
The one later on in his life, not so
Yeah.
much.
All right.
95 British Open. All right.
All right, see ya. Tubular's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. BuyAToyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out BuyAToyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Orioles Astros, 7 o'clock on MASN. Jack Flaherty, Christian Javier. If you happen to live in the Chicago or New York markets, it's on MLB Network. All the rest of the sports stuff, find at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything non-sports-wise?
No. MasterChef.
'Kay.
And High School Musical, the series, final season.
So
Out on
nothing.
Disney
Very
Plus.
good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks to everybody. Oh,
Coco Golf just won.
Yay. She won the DC event, which was wonderful. What's that?
Free Coco.
Thanks to Dan Connolly. Thanks also to Pat Kirwan and to Drew. We'll get it all up in the I don't know if we can call it the greatest hit section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything on the program tomorrow?
We're going to stop at Bowie, talk to
'Kay.
Silas Ardoin, the
'Kay.
just recently promoted catcher.
If you're
Okay.
going to the game tonight, you don't chant, you don't have a hair on your rear end.
Thank you. Anything else tomorrow?
Stop.
Jim Miller will
Yes,
join
Jim
us,
Miller.
right?
Yes.
Very good. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. Visit Baltimore, Live Casino and Hotel, Glory Days Grill, Dorchester County, the Bowie Bay Sox, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook, the Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Washington County, your local Toyota dealer, BuyAToyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. And have a great Wednesday evening. Go Birds! Duke sucks.